Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. Today we will see what if Naruto Banished Konoha fallen. If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. Naruto walked alongside the old man as he entered the cottage and into its basement. Upon entering the basement the old man moved a bookcase aside to reveal a small device hidden in the wall with what looked like a skull in it with the symbol he had seen in his dreams adorning its sides. The old man stuck out his hand and put his fingers into the skull's eye sockets and pulled up. The skull then moved inverted and the wall moved back and opened up, revealing a short corridor that led to a much larger room. The two of them walked down the corridor into the new room. Naruto took in the room's appearance in sheer size. He noticed that the room appeared to be a large library within the mountain and had multiple wings jetting off from different directions. The library appeared to be 10 stories tall with both a center and outer area to it going deeper into parts of the mountain. Adorning a few of the pillars were statues of earlier assassins. In the center of the room set several tables with rather large books upon them in the symbol of the Brotherhood upon the floor. The old man walked up to one of the tables and proceeded to open the book that sat upon it. As he flipped through several of the pages he motioned for Naruto to come over and take a look at what he was showing them. As he did this he suddenly saw what looked like blue ghosts walking into the room up to several of the tables. One of them was a woman in a ninja outfit and what looks like a much younger fourth Hokage, as well as what looked like the old man at least 20 years younger, standing there talking to each other. That they faded away. The old man noticed to look upon Naruto's face and then said, "I see the bleeding effect has started. Don't worry about what you see right now, that just memories, and from the look on your face you saw both your mother and father and a younger me, didn't you?" The shock upon Naruto's face was all the answers the old man needed to know. He smiled and then said, "Your mother went through the same things here a few times. You saw one of her memories before your father became the fourth Hokage of your home village. They came here to make sure that both the knowledge and weaponry of the Brotherhood was safe and sound here." "My father was the fourth Hokage?" Naruto asked. The old man nodded his head and then said, "I see that you do not know much about your own heritage, young one. It is time for you to learn. Come here, come on." Naruto walked over and looked at the book to see a language he had never seen before, but yet he could read it. The old man then spoke to him. "This is one of the many books here. It tells our history of the Brotherhood. Basically our history starts in the ancient Holy Lands him with one of your ancestors named Altair, who basically started the centuries-long war with the Templars. But if he had not started it then someone else would have eventually. After his time many more of your ancestors fought them, hid from the world until the date that started one of the great periods of our world began. The Renaissance. This is when your ancestor Ezio Auditore da Firenze was then forced to fight the war against the Templars until his dying day. For you see, Ezio did not choose the life of an assassin, much like you and your other ancestor Desmond. You will see much of Ezio's life in your dreams as you relive his memories." "This is all part of a bloodline?" he asked. "Yes. The bloodline's name is the Animus. It is also the name of the machine that your ancestor Desmond was put into to relive his ancestors' memories, much like you and your mother have been experiencing. As you well know, the great event is it is sometimes called created our era and the use of chakra as we know it in the beginning of the bloodlines. Your just happens to be one that no one knows about it." Naruto was shocked at everything that he had learned so far. "There's more, isn't there?" "Oh, much more. During your ancestor Desmond's time he fought against the most powerful form of the Templars that ever had been. Their powerful company Abstergo nearly hunted us all to extinction, not realizing that by trying to kill us all they were dooming the world. Desmond, his friends and the Assassin Order at the time managed to save us all by activating the temples that had been left behind by the ancient race we've only come to call the ones who came before us, or just the gods of the ancient worlds. The event wiped out for the most part almost all of the Templars in one shot and gave the Brotherhood a fighting chance against them. Today if there are any Templars they've lost much of the history and may not even know that we still exist. However, it was one of the last great ninja wars that nearly destroyed us all. Only our home village of Whirlpool held the last of us. After that your mother was sent to the Hidden Leaf village to be the next host to the nine-tailed fox spirit." Naruto's eyes widened at hearing this one and did not go unnoticed by the old man. "I see you did not know that one. I'm sorry. I believe that is one of the reasons you hold the fox in you. And I can tell thanks to those marks on your cheeks. Now, as I was saying before, I revealed that little dark secret. Your clan was not only the last of the assassins besides myself but also masters of the art of sealing. During the last great ninja war this led to their destruction. Luckily the Brotherhood's archives and armory center there are safe just as they are here. You and I are all that is left of the Brotherhood. And if you are not trained soon we will be history. I'm an old man, I don't have much life left in me, there are more years behind me than are in front of me now. But it is your choice, Naruto. Will you choose a different life or will you continue your ancestors' way? The assassins work in the darkness to serve the light, young one. What is your choice? Naruto thought about it for a moment and then said, I don't have a choice. I've seen a lot of people that need help in this world. The villages won't lift a finger to help them unless you pay them first. The way I see it, if I don't do this you will. What's your name, old man? He gave Naruto a true smile and then said, they call me Raven Naruto. Naruto thought about Raven's name and realized something about himself. He could no longer go by his old given name as it would be a sure way to track him from place to place. No one else had it, he needed a new one. My ancestors' names, what they mean? Their names for the most part meant the flying one or the eagle. Why do you ask? Because I need a new name and I choose the name Washi. It's Japanese for eagle. What do you think? He asked Raven. It's definitely you, just like your old name. The shadow clone jutsu? Yes. I've been known to make up to 1,000 of them at a time. Why do you ask? Let me guess. No one ever told you about its secret, did they? About how whenever they learned you learn when they dispel themselves or are destroyed in battle. It was originally created to be a scout jutsu so you wouldn't have to risk the life of one of your teammates to gain intelligence on the enemy. But in your case they can be used to increase your training tenfold. Just remember there's a backlash if too many clones are dispelled at once. I'd say you can make up to 500 clones with no problem and have them dispel in groups of 10 after say 2 hours, so you learn what they have learned, just make another 10 to replace. With your bloodline, everything in this place, you will be a master assassin in a matter of years instead of decades. All you need after that is experience. Let's get started. As the years passed for Washi, he trained heavily in the martial arts of being both a good ninja and a master assassin. He had learned to use all of the weapons of the assassin's order that were at his disposal. He had a particular fondness for the hidden blades on his wrists and their matching armor. He also loved the throwing knives, they were far more accurate than the kunai that ninja used in combat. He also learned to use the eagle vision to its fullest potential, much like his ancestor Ezio had. When he added this with his abilities in using seals and the tactics that had been used by his ancestors for what must have been close to a century, Washi knew that his time in hiding was coming to an end soon. He spent last 2 years reacquaint himself with his people's history and knew it was time to move on and rebuild the Brotherhood. His first stop would be the capital of Spring Country to see his old friend Coyuki, who was the daimyo of the country and a movie star of the Princess Gale movies. He designed and made many of his new assassin guards intended to many things that needed to be tended to in the archives. But before he did anything he had to see his old master and mentor, who unfortunately had begun to reach the last days of his life and was now bedridden. Washi walked into Raven's room and pulled up a chair and sat alongside his bed. The old man moved his head and gave a smile to the new master of the assassins. Don't be sad, young one, death comes to us all. I have lived a long good life and seen many things. The only thing I regret was being too old to kill that bastard who took over this country so long ago. Even without knowing your heritage you did what I could not. I don't know how much time I have left, but I know this is my last day on this earth. I had thought that we had fallen forever. We may have fallen, but those who fall can get right back up. It will take time, but you can do it. I'll do all that I can to rebuild the Brotherhood, Raven. But you know at some point they are going to after me. I don't want to kill anyone if I can help it, he said to Raven. I know what you mean, Washi. But we only killed the guilty. Remember all you have learned, Washi, and follow the creed. You must recreate the order now, it's up to you. I know you can do this, Washi, Raven said to him. Washi then went through the tenets of the creed one by one. Tenet 1, do not harm or kill the innocent. Tenet 2, use the crowd to conceal oneself and hide in plain sight. Tenet 3, do not compromise the Brotherhood. As Washi went through the tenets, remembering that they not only guided the Brotherhood but protect the innocent. In the last year he had seen more of Altair's memories and had seen the consequences of some of his choices. He had been truly arrogant and prideful and ignored all 3 of the tenets of the creed. Washi had seen his road to redemption firsthand in the beginning of the Secret War. He understood that at times that some people had to die so others would be free. Raven then began to feel his life slipping away and realized he only had a few minutes left before he would pass on from this world. He reached his hand up and took hold of Washi's hand and said, "My time has come, young one. Pass on what you have learned, Washi. Never give up on hope, you will find someone that will love you one day. Just take care of yourself, and one more thing." Washi nodded to him. "Safety and peace, my brother." As he said these words, the light of life in his eyes faded away and his hand slipped out of his young student's grasp. The first time in years Washi let his tears fall for someone. He had a feeling it would not be the last. The stone sarcophagus bearing the image of Raven was sealed fully in the sanctuary's crypt. Washi said his prayers to the old assassin and went to pick up his things for the long journey ahead of him. He had packed all the weapons and clothing he would ever need on his journey to the spring capital to see Coyuki. He had made sure to also pack enough food for the journey as well. He put on some simple traveling clothing with hidden armor in them that were still light enough not to restrict his movement at all as he performed free running. His free running skills were now so high that he did not need the use of chakra anymore to perform all the running and jumping moves that helped ninjas out so much getting from place to place. He had no idea what to expect from the outside world anymore as he not been a part of it for 2 years. There was no telling how much the world had changed in that time frame. The only other thing that concerned him was about the fox. Through some of the journals and information that had been left by his parents in the sanctuary here, he had learned they only had half of the fox's total power and that he required a key to unlock the fox's true potential. The only downside is you have to fight fox and defeat it to gain full control over it. He also learned the more he used its power without the key, more unstable Seal would become. Washi then proceeded to leave both the mountain sanctuary and the cottage for some time to come. If he did return, it would be to both pay his respects to Raven and to train the new members of the Brotherhood. The one thing he needed more than anything right now was information and knowledge of what had been going on in the last 2 years as he had been in hiding. He then began the long track to the capital, hoping nothing would go wrong along the way. Washi had been walking along the trail for 2 days now and could see the capital from where he stood on the top of one of the large trees in the forest surrounding the capital and seaports. He had to admit that the country had prospered well under Coyuki's rule. He then made his way back down the tree and hopped back on the road that led to the capital. As he continued along his way, he came upon a caravan that was under siege from what looked like snow ninjas, the old tyrant's force who helped him rule the country with an iron fist before Washi and his old traders team had put a stop to them. These ones look like remnants of them, but only one of them had chakra armor on. Washi immediately hid in the woods and moved into position to take them down. He noticed that 2 of the people in the caravan looked to be former snow ninjas but had joined up with Coyuki and were defending the caravan from attack. He could not hear what some of them were saying, and it was not good. "Hand over all of your food and money right now and we won't kill you. We'll just kill the 2 traitors over there for serving that bitch of a daimyo." That was all Washi needed to know, that this was serious. At the same time, he used his eagle vision to see just how bad everything really was. He was not disappointed. Everyone in the caravan was blue, indicating friend or ally, and the rogue ninja were blood red. He then noticed that one of the caravan people was gold and realized that he was someone important. He checked the woods to make sure that there were no more enemies before making his move. Luckily, there were no more in the immediate area. He then jumped down from the top of the tree branches that was directly over 2 of the enemy ninjas. As he hit the targets with his hidden blades and made contact with the back of their necks, cutting their spines into 2 and killing them instantly. Before the rest of them even knew what was going on, Washi had moved on to the next target, cutting his throat open with one quick swipe of his hand. The next 2 received throwing knives into the center of their skulls, killing them instantly. The last one with the chakra armor was truly surprised by what had happened. The young man had used no chakra at all in his attacks and taken down 5 men in under 30 seconds. That was something not even him or the best Anbu could do. Before he can even activate the armor, the young man brought one of his arms up and the other touching its side and pulled something on it that made it a tremendous amount of noise. Not even a full second later, he felt tremendous pain in his chest as his eyes rolled back into his head and he fell on his back dead with the blood pooling around him. Washi then walked up to him and closed his eyes as he said, "Rest in peace." He then proceeded to walk back down the road once more as if nothing had ever happened, only to hear Invoice shout out to him. "You give last rites to the man you just killed. I have a feeling that he would not have done the same for any of us or you, stranger. Why did you help us?" Washi turned back to the man and said, "It was the right thing to do. I can tell that you all innocent. Call it a gift if you will. Have a safe journey." The man was truly surprised by what the young man had said and called out to him. "Would you like to come with us? We could use the help of someone like you, especially if there are more of them out there and they come at us again. Will you help us?" Washi gave the man a smile and said, "All right. I'll go with you, as I was seated daimyo anyways. And it's a good thing we're not that far away anymore." Washi walked alongside the old man as they entered the daimyo's palace and was truly amazed at what he saw inside the palace. He had also been impressed with the capital city as well. As they walked down a corridor leading to the daimyo's personal office, the old man just had to ask Washi something. "So young man, what business do you have in our country that would warrant a visit to the daimyo herself?" Washi was not surprised by the question at all and had been expecting it. "Well, to answer your question, mister?" The old man felt a bit embarrassed, realizing that he never properly introduced himself to Washi. He decided to change that and responded, "Oh yes, where are my manners? My name is Rex. I'm one of the new elders and advisors to Lady Coyuki. I was part of the resistance that fought against her uncle. We only wish we knew what happened to the hero who helped her kill him. He disappeared almost 2 years ago. Some say he's here in this country hiding from his old home that betrayed him." Washi was surprised to hear this coming from the old man, but he had to admit it made sense with the way he had left his old village. But in a sense that was another life that he no longer wanted or cared about. He then decided to give part of his reason for coming. "Well, Elder Rex, my reasons for coming are simple. I know her and helped in the fight against her uncle and was there when he died. It's been almost 2 years since I've seen her last, and I've been out of touch for all that time. I was training up the mountains here in this country for 2 years. This is my first time coming down from them in a while, so I'm a little out of touch, but what's been going on with the world, you might say." Rex was surprised to hear this, as he knew a bit about the mountains and who lived there. "So tell me, how is Raven doing these days?" Rex was able to catch the slight twinge at what he had said and realized that something had happened to one of his old friends from the past. Washi then responded, "He died about a week ago. He's an old friend of my family's and was helping to train me in their ways. But he never told me that he helped the resistance. Just when I thought I knew the old man. Maybe you could tell me about him sometime." Rex nodded to this as they approached the door, only to be stopped by 2 guards. The larger one of the 2 then said, "Elder Rex, the daimyo wishes to see you immediately. As well as your companion here." "Very well, please escort us in." The head guard nodded and escorted them directly into the room and stayed behind Washi, keeping his eye on him at all times. Several men and women were inside the office handing things to Coyuki to sign and approve of. It took her a bit of time to notice that she had guests inside the office and held up her hand to get her assistant's attention in this matter. She then proceeded to say to them as one more assistant walked into the office with something in his hand he just had to deliver to her. At the same time, he did not look pleased one bit at having to bring this into the office to his leader. He walked right up to her desk and handed her the scroll that bore the symbols of the Hidden Leaf Village upon it. Washi caught the angry look on their faces as they look upon the scroll that had just been delivered to the daimyo of Spring Country. She took the scroll from her assistant, who just walked into the room, and asked him, "Where the hell did this come from?" The assistant's response was not what she was hoping to hear. It was a team from Konoha, and to be more precise, milady, the traitors team who betrayed our hero Naruto. "They are downstairs in one of the diplomatic receiving rooms, my lady. They said they were ordered to remain here until you made your decision regarding what's in the scroll." Coyuki was not happy hearing about this right at that minute. Things had just gotten a lot more complicated for her, and she knew it too. It was at this point that she remembered that she had guests standing in her office and decided to ignore the Konoha ninjas for the time being, as well scroll that now set up on her desk. She turned and looked directly into Rex's eyes and said to him, "It's good to see that you have returned safely, Elder Rex. I take it that the mission to the far-out villages of our country was successful. And may I ask who this is that has accompanied you?" "They were indeed successful, my lady. However, on our return trip to the capital we ran into some trouble caused by former snow ninjas who attacked our caravan within sight of the capital, my lady. They were however defeated by this young man here, Lady Coyuki." She turned her attention from Rex to the concealed individual who wore a hood to hide his face from view that now stood before her and lightly bowed his head in respect. She then decided to introduce herself to the stranger who now stood before her. "My name is Coyuki and I am the ruler of Spring Country. Would you be so kind as to introduce yourself to me, mister?" He looks about the room studying it before responding to her. "Before I tell you who I am, do you trust the people in this room with your life?" She nodded to him a yes. He gave her smile as he pulled back his hood to reveal spiky blonde hair, blue eyes and 3 whisker-like marks on his cheeks to her and the people of the room. "It's been a long time, princess. How are you doing running a country and being an actress at the same time?" Everyone in the room was totally surprised to see the face of their hero before them. Coyuki slowly rose from her seat behind the desk and walked to him and embraced him in a hug. "Naruto, is it really you?" "It's really me, princess. But I go by Washi now so the leaf can't find me." "How have you been?" he asked her with a smile upon his face. "Please sit down and tell me everything you have been up to the last 2 years." The daimyo of Spring Country had instructed for time being that she wanted to be left alone as she had important matters to discuss with one of her elders. Inside of her office she spoke to Washi about the things that he'd done the last 2 years during his training with Raven. She was surprised to learn all the things that transpired during that time as well as his heritage and who his parents were. Washi then proceeded to ask his friend about what had happened in the last 2 years that he had been in hiding. "You now know what I've been up to, princess, but what's happened in the last 2 years? How has the world changed?" Coyuki had a feeling this was not going to go well, but he deserved to know what happened the last couple of years he had been in hiding and what was yet to come. She placed her drink down upon the table and sat back in her chair. "I'm not going to lie to you, Washi. Things haven't been going so well back in the elemental nations. The Hidden Cloud and the Hidden Sand are about the only stable villages at this moment in time as well as the countries therein. Fire Country, the Hidden Leaf Village are by far the worst off. The Fire Daimyo still has some power and control but not by much. He has people trying to gain control over his country. And I hate to say it, but they are winning this battle. And there's no end in sight, Washi. So the smaller villages are taking the worst of it? They are. The territorial governors and their elected officials are basically bleeding the villages dry. In those villages it's safer to be in the criminal underworld, like a thief or a pirate. In fact, some of them are working for the Fire Daimyo himself. But getting the Hidden Leaf to do anything about it, it has proven to be useless, Washi. The elected officials of these villages are in the civilian council's pocket. Pretty soon they won't need a Hokage to run the village anymore." Washi put his drink down and looked back into her eyes and then asked, "Are the other 2 major villages and their countries the same way as Fire Country?" "No, not as bad. Not yet at least. But the truth is everything can be traced right back to the civilian council of Konoha and its elders. There is a small seaport village that is vital to the Fire Daimyo. If you were to take care of the problems that these people created and free the village, you could establish your brotherhood there and begin to give some power back to the people. As well as the daimyo and the Hokage. And it just so happens that I have a contact heading there in a couple of days." "Who is it then and what's the name of this village, Coyuki?" he asked her. "The name of the village is Crystal Cove, and my contact's name is Captain Jack Webb. He'll be leaving in 2 days for the village, so you should have plenty of time to get ready," she said to him. He nodded to her and then said, "Looks like I got my first mission as an assassin. I promise you, princess, I will return, and you know I don't go back to my word." She gave a slight laugh at this as a knock on the door was heard. Washi immediately put his hood back up to conceal his face as he turned to face the door. Coyuki quickly walked around her desk and headed to the door of the office with one of her bodyguards at her side as well as Washi alongside her and opened the door to reveal one of her assistants standing there in front of her. Coyuki quickly wanted to know what was going on and asked him, "I ordered no interruptions." "Sorry my lady, but the team from Konoha is growing rather impatient. They seem to think you should have read their scroll by now and are awaiting a response from you in person. They said that was their orders from the civilian council, the elders and the Hokage." "What should I do?" Before Coyuki could tell the assistant what she wanted him to do in regards to the Konoha team, Washi walked over to the desk and picked up the scroll and handed it to her. "We should at least see what they want. That way you know what you're saying no to and why they're so impatient," he said to her. Coyuki had to admit he was right about everything and opened the scroll to see what it was all about. What she saw inside of it was not good at all. From what she could tell, it was a basic invitation to head to Konoha to negotiate a new trade treaty with the Civilian Council's merchant guild that wanted to set up new trading posts in Spring's capital city, as well as to have the gym from their village protecting them and given diplomatic immunity in case of trouble with the host country, as well as any information on the whereabouts of one Naruto Uzumaki. She handed the scroll over to Washi, who read it and had a feeling there was more going on than he knew at the moment. I take it this is how all the problems started in the other countries, right? And that the guild members then become the politicians and control of the villages. That's how it all started in them. The fire daimyo's capitals is about the only though that they do not have control over. The other city or villages in fire country that they do indeed have control over at this time. It's only a matter of time before he loses it all to them. If you can't stop them in fire country, they'll spread like a plague over the rest of the elemental nations. And it looks like now they set their sights my country as well. I can only go so far to stop them. But I have a feeling you can go much further. Then I think it's only right if you tell them no to the negotiations and I get started on what I need to do to stop them. Don't worry, I'll go with you. Coyuki walked with Washi and her bodyguards until they arrived at the waiting room holding the Konoha diplomatic envoy in it. As the door to the room was opened to reveal none other than Kakashi Hitaki with Sakura Haruno and Sasuke Uchiha standing there with an unknown male ninja who was almost as pale as the snake Sanin himself. This was not a group that Washi wanted to ever meet again in his life if he could help it. Sorry to be a little impatient, princess, but the council really needs an answer to what's in the scroll and we were ordered to escort you back to the village as soon as possible. We will leave whenever you're ready, of course. Kakashi said to her. Coyuki handed over the scroll to them and then said, the answer is no. I'm not going to your village to sign anything. I want you out of my country right now. The Leaf Ninja were shocked at what they had just heard her say. Sasuke became angry at what she had said to him, feeling humiliated and insulted. You will do as the council says, woman. I don't care if you're the rule over this country, but no one defies us. You will pay for this. Do I look like someone who gives a shit what you think? Get out of my country. Kakashi then stepped forward only to be stopped by Koyuki's bodyguards and Washi. Can you tell me if you've seen Naruto? Why would you care? Please, we need to know if he's alright. Has he come to you in the last 2 years? He asked her. Even if I knew, I would not tell you or this team of all people. Now get out. After saying this, she turned on her heels and walked out of the room with her bodyguards and Washi hot on her heels. After the door closed, Sakura then said to her team, well, that could have gone better. Kakashi-sensei, why are we even doing missions for the Civilian Council? Shouldn't we be looking for Naruto? But before he could answer her, Sasuke put his own 2 cents into it. Why would you want that loser back? I'm a better ninja than he'll ever be. He got banished for hurting me, remember? I remember all too well. It took a bit of time for me to realize what I did to him. And what you and the council did to him as well. Don't think I'll ever forget that. A week had passed since Washi had seen his old team back in Spring Country. Currently he stood on the deck of the ship White Storm. The ship's captain Jack Webb walked over to where Washi stood looking out upon the fast-approaching village as the ship docked. He then stood alongside Washi and said, we will be docking soon. Whatever you're planning to do inside the village, it won't be easy thanks the towers they're using to keep an eye on everything that goes on there. So what are you going to do? Washi was staring at one of the nearby towers and remembered what his ancestor Ezio had done to the Borgia towers that have been set up all over Rome to keep the people in control there. Washi realized that he could do a similar thing here to break their control. The towers help them stay in control, right? Yes. Then watch what I'm going to do them. Washi then walked past him, heading to the part of the ship that he could walk off in into the village. A few minutes later, both he and Jack were walking until they came into view of the first tower and a small garrison they guarded it. Many of the men were harassing the local shop owners. A few even seemed to be trying to kidnap some of the local women whose beauty was more of a curse in this village at the moment. Jack, who had seen far too much of this every time you come to his village, had to admit it was getting much worse and wondered if this man could really do what the princess said he could. He wondered if this young man really was a miracle worker and had to ask, you see, there is no hope in this village anymore, Washi. There is no way to bring it back. None of them will fight the Council of Konoha's forces. And those who do risk their lives and those of their families every day that they do it. Only the thieves can help these people, something we cannot do. I want to meet these thieves later. But first I have a section of this village to liberate and some men who need to die," he said as he walked off to do his work. Washi walked up behind 2 guards who were escorting a young woman who was no older than 16 to their tower for a dark deed. They would take her innocence away. Without warning they both felt a shoddy pain course through their skulls as their life left them and their bodies hit the ground hard. The young woman was startled that she was suddenly free of the men who had taken her, only to see Washi walk past her with his next objective in mind. A small outdoor stand that was owned by a middle-aged couple that sold a modest selection of pottery plates and bowls to the people of the village were currently being vandalized by the so-called guards of the village who more criminal than those they prosecuted. Washi took 2 of his throwing knives and let them fly. They hit their marks dead on and they fell to the ground never to move again. Washi then walked right into the heart of the enemy territory. The tower's courtyard where everything from horses to weapons was stored as well as the riches they had stolen and several young women who were chained to the walls. None of these men would leave this ground alive and the tower would soon be broken upon the ground if he had anything to say about it. The captain of the garrison walked up to him with a smug and arrogant look upon his face, thinking no one would dare challenge them, not realizing that 4 of his men had already met the Grim Reaper today. They were soon to join them. The captain, in all of his arrogance and pride that he was the most powerful being that walked the earth, spoke. "You must have some pretty big balls walking in here. In fact, the last time we checked that was a crime if I remember the law correctly. Any last words before we kill you?" Washi only smiled as he raised his right hand open to reveal a small device on the inside of his sleeve connected to the armor that concealed his hidden blade. And without warning a loud bang was heard to all. The captain, who had been smiling evilly upon his face, now coughed his own blood up from his throat as the fabric around his chest darkened with his blood. Those few seconds were all Washi needed to spring into action, cutting many of the guards down like they were nothing. One of the guards was able to block his hidden blade from entering the soft part of his throat, only for another loud noise to ring out across the courtyard and his blood to fly from the back of his head as well as some of his brain. Before the last 2 men could make a run for it, Washi made 2 shadow clones that would hunt them down to prevent them from raising the alarm too early. He released all the women and told them to take all the money, weapons and equipment out of the courtyard so they would not be destroyed with what he was about to do. Jack Webb and one of the master thieves that lived in this village now stood a block away as they had just seen what Washi had done at the beginning of his little visit to the Dark Tower, as some were calling them in the village. The thief, whose name was Roy, was not very impressed at the moment, but that quickly changed as a large explosion rocked the tower and they swore they saw what looked like a man do a swan dive from the falling tower. The tower itself broke into several parts as the largest part of it came crashing down into the center of the courtyard, making it useless for some time to come. It would be very difficult to maintain the level of control they once had before the tower fell. For the first time in a while, Roy had some sense of hope as he turned to Jack and said, "What the hell is going on, Jack? I thought you said the princess was just sending a new thief to help us. But instead she sends a one-man army. This is not going to end well. Only if you're willing to fight them." A new voice that he did not recognize said as he turned his head to look at the individual now walking up to them. Jack just smiled and then introduced them. "Master Thief Roy, may I introduce you to Grand Master of the Assassin's Brotherhood, Washi." Roy was now in total shock at what he had just heard. "That's not possible. All of the assassins have fallen, they are extinct. I am very much real. But unfortunately I am the last one left alive." "But you know something of us, how is that possible?" Washi asked him. "Before they came to our village, the thieves were originally hired to test the village security, and long ago we worked side by side with the assassins. Several of their facilities are still here hidden away. If you are an assassin like you say you are, you must have the eagle vision and can find them. If you can do this, it would give the few thieves that live here a chance against the guards. I may have already found one, but I'm not sure. But first things first, I have another tower to destroy, more people to free. If everything goes as planned, I will have a new brotherhood to rebuild. Now if you will excuse me, I have a lot of work to do," he said to the 2 as he walked off into the distance, only to hear Jack yell out to him. "If you live through this, Washi, meet us at the inn called the White Storm later and we can talk about what to do here." Kakashi saw the unhappy look upon his leader's face as he finished his report to her. "She refused to give us any information upon Naruto's whereabouts. I think she knows something about him or where he might be, Lady Tsunade. But with no diplomatic dialogue we can do nothing. For the first time in years, Tsunade's hopes about finding Naruto were for nothing. He had become a ghost to all of her attempts to find him in the past. The worst part was all of their old allies have gone to being neutral and broke certain treaties with them. And the things the civilian merchants guilds have been doing in other countries have not helped out much either. Parts of her village were doing very well, on others were suffering just like the rest of Fire Country. My plan was for nothing. I couldn't stop them from doing to him what they did. And all for that little shit Uchiha. And just think, I had to let him off the hook to save Naruto from death. There's no telling what they did to him in that prison. I wonder if he hates me, Kakashi. She said. Kakashi remembered what he said and did to his sensei's son all that time ago. He can only imagine what the young man would have to say to him now. I don't know if he hates us or not, Lord Hokage. But I do know that he's safer out of the village than in it at this time. We still have a year before he's supposed to come back, and I'm kind of hoping he doesn't come back. I hope he has a better life out there in the big world than he did in here. Especially now. I know what you mean. So much is happening to our home village right now. Our daimyo can't even help us right now. Kakashi, I have an assignment for you. Keep an eye on the civilian council as much as you can. I know they're up to something, she said to him. Kakashi nodded to her and walked out of the room to do these duties. The civilian council of Konoha was in an uproar for two reasons. The first had been the refusal of the Spring Daimyo to allow their merchant guild trading houses inside her country at all and to deny any information on the whereabouts of the Uzumaki clan heir who they had banished without knowing the full repercussions it would have on them later. The second had just recently occurred in the small seaside village of Crystal Cove. The village was more important than anyone knew, for it was the final piece to gaining some control in the capital of Fire Country and ultimately over the Fire Daimyo himself. But that plan was now in jeopardy. They had received word from the village's governing body leaders that they had put there in the first place to maintain control over the people of the village. And what they received was disturbing to say the least. Apparently a single individual had managed to take down 2 full garrisons of their best man like it was nothing, as well as the towers that helped them maintain their form of control. It was now so bad that people in Crystal Cove were actually talking openly about armed resistance. This was something they had never anticipated happening without outside interference. The only one who could have done this in their eyes was the pirate Jack Webb. But he did not appear to have this kind of power or skill in him. They realized just to maintain order in this village they would have to pull double the man they would want from other villages, severely weakening them by doing this, but there was no other choice at the moment. They thought about sending some of Danzo's root ninjas to take care of the problem, but that was like overkill at this moment in time. And it would also attract unwanted attention to them and him at the moment, and they could not afford that to happen at this time. Danzo himself was listening in on the conversations and thinking about what could be happening and how one man who kills so many without a problem. His first thought had to be that this man was a ninja and obviously not working alone. Of this he could be sure of. What do you mean the crime rate went up in Crystal Cove? And what do you mean against our people there? This makes no sense, one of them said. That was the latest report we got from the village this morning by Hawk. It also states that another 10 of our men have recently been killed as well. There was only one survivor and he reported that was done by one man dressed in an outfit that he had never seen before. Then he disappeared into the crowd like it was nothing. He said the guy was a ghost and then he died. You just said he was a survivor? He survived the initial attack upon his squad, but bled out and died from blood loss an hour later. The wound was just too great. But was the first confirmation we have that someone is killing our man in that village and there's nothing we can do to stop them. Danzo then decided to ask his own questions. Are any of your men trained as ninjas in any way? No, Lord Danzo. The only ones with that kind of training protects the mayor of the village, who we control the funds that he's been collecting for us, as well as your new recruits that they have yet to send to us. But all the men we have hired have experience with ninjas. And that man reported that this assassin, for the lack of a better word, used no chakra at all while he killed them. He said to Danzo. Danzo was intrigued by what he had just heard and decided he wanted to know more about this assassin. Do we at least have a description of this man? Let's see here. Not a complete one, sir. It says here that his face was covered by a white hood with what looks like an eagle's beak concealing his identity from us. They basically couldn't see his face. He wore a basic black kimono top with red lining on the inside and a long battle cloak with red flames at the bottom. The rest is all black with what looks like a strange symbol on the back, looks like an A without its middle. There also appears to be a red sash belt going around the coat with a huge metal symbol like the one on the back. There also appears to be many areas for hiding weapons of all kinds on this individual. That's all I've got. Someone like that is going to stand out in that village. But there's a good chance that the people may help him out. The man said again. Just then a man ran into the room and bowed to them and then handed a report over to man who had described the assassin and began to read the report. His eyes then went wide as could be. This can't be happening? He said. What is it now, William? He looked up to them and said, another 2 towers and their garrisons have been wiped out by this man the more than 2 hours ago after the first hawk was sent out to us. They're requesting immediate aid as some of the ninjas who were protecting the mayor were also killed right in front of him. This can't be happening? Danzo was shocked to hear this as he had helped find them in the first place and now knew the situation was serious enough to warrant his involvement no matter what. It was clear to him that this was no resistance movement that had popped up to stop them. That this was clearly a high-level threat he had to stop. I'm sending a 4-man team to find, locate and kill this individual before it causes any more damage to our plans. At the same time, send more of your men as fast as you can to Crystal Cove. We will not let whoever this person is stop us from our plans. Get it done, now. He said to them as he walked out of the council room to begin his own work. The route team had just arrived in the village. It had taken almost a day, but they were here now and remembered their briefing from Danzo about their target. All in all, it was not going to be as easy as they thought it was going to be. One of them noticed that there were only 3 towers left in the whole village. One of the towers was more heavily guarded than the others because of its position in the village. That will be his target. It's the only tower that will warn the mayor if someone's coming to kill him. He said to his men. Why would he choose that one? It's the most heavily defended tower out of them all? One of them asked. Because it's the one no one would ever think to hit. The guards will be unprepared for it. We'll keep an eye on it, see what he does. He said. In another part of the village, Washi was walking around keeping an eye out for any trouble that might be caused by the guards on their patrols. As he turned the corner, he saw a group of guards who were being held back by a single woman with a katana in her hands, a young girl behind her. He narrowed his eyes and went to work right away. He pulled the crossbow that he had recently unsealed and fired 2 bolts into the backs of the guards, killing them instantly. Washi then quickly drew his sword and engaged the 3 remaining guards as the woman took advantage of the distraction he had provided and killed one of the guards, and Washi blocked a strike from one of the guards' swords and countered it with his own weapon and then proceeded to impale the guard through his stomach, killing him. He then quickly kicked the dead body off of his blade and counterattacked the next guard, killing him instantly. After making sure that the guards were indeed dead, he walked over to the woman and the child who were now bowing to him and thanks. He walked up to them and said, the liberation of Crystal Cove has begun. If you choose to fight, we will train you. I will join you, assassin. I watched my husband be murdered by them and could do nothing. Well, not anymore. At this point, 2 members of the local thieves guild walked out and bowed to the woman. Washi then said, these men will take you and your daughter to a safe house where we can begin your training later. Get going as there is much to do tonight. The woman and her daughter followed the thieves to their hideout to begin her training in the ways of the assassin order. At this point, Roy walked out of an alleyway and up to Washi. Washi turned to the master thief and then said, we have another recruit, but that's not why you're here, is it? Roy nodded his head no and then said, I'm afraid not, Washi. It seems this Danzo person you warned us about has sent some of his ninja to kill you and to help the mayor retake control of this village. So what are you going to do? Do you know where they are? Yes, why? Washi gave him a smile and then said, good, because they're the next targets as well as the mayor. It's time to end this. You do know, Washi, that there are others to take his place. Roy said, but they won't be as powerful as this one is, besides they won't be the only targets I'm going after. We have to take out the Konoha merchant guilds here as well. If we can do that, they won't have the power they need anymore and the daimyo can help us out. So you're going to weaken them and take out their leaders one by one until they no longer have control of this village. That's the plan, Roy. The rest of it I'm making up as we go along. I'll be back, I have some roots to kill. The root commander was surprised that the target had not taken the bait yet. It was clear to him that his target was waiting for an opening to attack the tower and take it down. And right now the security was just too tight for him. It made sense to them that he would not risk his life in this kind of engagement unless he had a chance of coming out alive. The other was that the mayor would not risk the tower's safety and his by letting them set a trap for this assassin. One of the men walked up to the commander and said, "Sir, why are we not in full command of this operation? The mayor knows nothing about how to kill this man. So why are we following his orders when he knows nothing about combat?" The route commander had to agree with this man. The foolish mayor had no idea how to fight this kind of enemy. The commander then turned to his sensor who could sense chakra and asked, "Is there anyone coming?" "I never sensed anything like this, Commander. If he's here, he's not using any chakra at all. I've never encountered anything like this before. He could sneak up on them at any time and blend in well. There are only a few ninjas in our village who can do this, sir. That makes them the most dangerous to our enemies when we send them out on infiltration missions. This person, I would say, has similar abilities and skills. He could already be in there, sir, we wouldn't know it. No wonder Lord Danzo sent us on this mission. He must really want to know what this person can do. And I don't think we're all going home," the commander thought. What the commander didn't know was that Washi was already hunting his men down. He silently walked up behind the first one and put his hidden blade right into the man's lung, killing him and preventing him from a sound in the night to alert his comrades. Washi then lightly set the man down and moved to his next target. Before the two could turn around, his hidden blades had cut open both of their throats, spilling of blood upon the roof that night. As their bodies hit the roof of the building, making the first sound that the commander had heard that night of his enemy, was already too late as he felt the blade enter his chest and the next one cut the right side of his neck open. His body then hit the roof, began to bleed out upon it. His only thoughts at this time were, how could this be? He didn't even use a jutsu and he's killed me. Washi then kneeled right beside the route commander. The commander then asked, "How did you do that? Modern ninjas have forgotten the art of invisibility and stealth. You all rely too heavily on ninjutsu that lets everyone know you're here. You forgot what it's like to kill from the shadows. And as for the tower, I think you can see what'll happen." The commander turned his head as best as he could to suddenly see the tower explode and come crashing down upon the garrison assembled in its courtyard. Several were crushed as the pieces came flying down upon them. The realization upon the commander's face was priceless as he realized at that moment that both the tower and his men were the targets of this assassin. I know all about ninjas who can sense chakra. But what happens when encountering an enemy who doesn't let you use them? That is your weakness in these types of battles. And before you die and move into the next world route, remember my order works in the darkness to serve the light. That's something you have forgotten long ago. Rest in peace, Washi said to him and closed his eyes. He had one more target for this night and he would not miss it. The mayor was in shock at what he had just seen. The most secured tower that kept him in power was now gone. And what was worse, he just received word that the route team that had been sent to assist him in killing this assassin had killed instead. He could not believe what was happening. Danzo said those were his best man and you're telling me they're dead. One of the garrison members who had found the route team's bodies was now a little nervous but gave his report anyways. They were all found slain on a rooftop, not from the tower that was destroyed, sir. It appears they had been killed before the tower fell and no sign of the assassin. I think it would be a wise decision to move you to a new location that is more secure, sir. I'm not going anywhere, Sergeant. We've increased the level of security here tenfold. The tower wasn't even this well defended. There's no way he can get me in here. Just then the glass behind the mayor shattered as a body came flying through it and a hand grabbed the chair he was sitting in and rolled him around to see the assassin before him, who plunged his hidden blade right into the man's chest. His eyes widened as he realized everything that had been promised to him had been for nothing. The assassin then came face to face with the mayor, who stared into Washi's blue eyes. I tried to help them. You didn't have to do this to me. I didn't deserve to die. You have taken from these people more than you know. You have helped no one and good people have died because of you. There may be someone to replace you in time, but they will know the risks of doing it. I hope you find peace the next world. Rest in peace. Washi stood up and stared at the others and said, if you wish to lose your lives, you can come at me and I will gladly take them from you. The guards in the room dropped their weapons and ran for it. One of the political officers in the room then asked, are you going to kill us now? No. But if you continue to hurt people of this village and impose your kind of control, I'll be back for your lives. With that said, he jumped out the window and was gone. It had been just over a week since Washi had managed to kill the root team and the mayor, and with a little help from the Thieves Guild and the privateers, Washi was able to get the evidence to the Fire Daimyo, who managed to put a stop to the Konoha Merchant Guild's plans and take the village over again, and allowed him to take the village back under his control. Washi had decided to travel to Wave Country to see about some rumors he had heard about. Right at this moment, Jack Webb walked up alongside him and looked out upon the ocean to see the country of Wave fast approaching. "I heard stories about what you do here long ago, Washi, back when you're still known as Naruto Uzumaki. I hear that Tazuna is now the daimyo of Wave Country. I also heard that some of your supporters are here as well. So the question I have to ask you is, why did you come here?" Washi made a sound and said, "It's been the almost 2.5 years, Jack. I know some things I didn't know then, and there are some friends I have to see. Who knows what will happen? But I intend to see how things have changed. By the way, where is Kukuku and her daughter?" "She's below deck with your other trainees, Washi. She's picked it up pretty fast. What are you going to do in Wave?" "There's something here, Jack, that I have to find. It has something to do with the Brotherhood. After all, Wave was once the hidden Whirlpool village. You could say in a way I'm coming home," Washi said. At this point, Kukuku walked up on deck and came alongside her leader. "Master, what are we going to hear? The Konoha Civilian Council has no presence here." "No, but it is a stepping stone to Water Country and the Hidden Mist Village. We can put a stop to all the killing and hurt the KCC even more. There are also some people I need to see. And some things I need to know. Looks like we've arrived, come on," he said to her. Jack watched as the small group of assassins disembarked from his ship. It entered the village. It didn't take very long for Washi to arrive at his destination, which was the home of Tazuna, who had built the Great Naruto Bridge and was now the daimyo of Wave. Washi had fond memories of the house and its inhabitants. He remembered Tsunami and her son Inari, who had been willing to give his life to save his mother from Gato's goons. There had been other great memory here as well. He smiled as he thought of them and walked up to the door, only to feel the tip of a crossbow against his neck. He smiled, realizing who it was. "Good to see you again, Inari. I see you have been getting bigger." Inari didn't know who this stranger was, but it was clear that he knew who he was. "Who are you?" "You know who I am, Inari," he said as he pulled down his hood to reveal a face he thought he would never see again. Inari's eyes widened as he recognized the man before him. "Naruto? Actually, Inari, I go by Washi now. How have you been?" Without warning, Inari embraced Washi like he was a lost brother, which is how he saw him. "Where have you been? A lot of people thought you were dead. Some Leaf Shinobi came here looking for you. A couple left the village and set up shop here in the village, and they want nothing to do with the Leaf anymore," he said. "Much has happened to me, Inari. I need to see your grandfather immediately, it's very important," Washi said. Inari nodded and opened the door to the house. As they walked inside, both Tazuna and Tsunami gave the stranger a once-over before he revealed who he was to them. This left them in quite a bit of shock, to say the least. It was Tsunami who said it first. "Naruto? It's good to see you all again. But as I told Inari only a moment ago, I go by the name Washi now, so my enemies cannot find me." The talk with the family had been long and mostly about the last 2 years while he was training to be the new master assassin of the Brotherhood. But the last part had been about his recent adventures in Crystal Cove. The family was surprised to learn just how far KCC had gone to maintain control over the village and what it took to free it. Tazuna was surprised by everything that he heard. The next question was one that he knew was coming. "I need to know some things, Tazuna, and I have a feeling you're the best person to ask about them." "And what would be those questions, and how can I help?" "The first one is, do you know where the old Whirlpool village ruins are located?" he asked. "Gato set up shop near the ruins. If you go past it, you'll see there's not much left of the old village." "Thank you." "The other is, who from Konoha came here and why, and do you know where I can find them?" he asked the old man. "Not many people from that village came here. I'd say no more than 5 people in fact came. 2 of them were ramen chefs you always talked about while you were here the first time. They just couldn't stand it anymore and wanted a new life somewhere new. As for the other 3, they were shinobi but resigned their commissions to come here for a better life as well. From what I hear, the KCC wasn't very happy about, and even less happy when they found out just who you were. In fact, how much of your own past do you know about?" the old man said. Washi just gave him a smile and then said, "I know a good deal, you old drunk. You wouldn't happen to know the name of this family, would you? They wouldn't happen to be a weapons family, would they? Are you a mind reader, kid?" I don't know the two parents very well, but I do know the daughter. Her name is Tenten, I take it?" he asked. "Then you know her. Her parents run a weapons shop that is located in the town and won't be hard to find. As for the old village ruins, I have to warn you now, it's massive. But there are some ruins that are extremely well kept. If I'm right, it has something to do with the Uzumaki clan's famous sealing abilities. When we were building the bridge, some of the men sent their families to the ruins to be safe from Gato. They're the ones that told us that certain areas were more intact than others." "So what will you do first?" he asked. "The first thing I'm going to do is go see Tenten, get some ramen and set up a base of operations here in Wave Country just in case the KCC tries something here." "Think you could help me out, you old drunk?" Washi said. "There's a couple of buildings here in the village that could help you out, but I have to ask. Are you an Uzumaki?" Tazuna asked. "Yes, I am Tazuna. Now if you will excuse me, I have someone to see." Washi walked into the shop to see the face one of the few people from Konoha that treated him like a human being. He also noticed Tenten working on a weapon behind the counter at this time. The minute the man saw him standing there, he was shocked and realized who it was. "Naruto Uzumaki, I never thought I would see you again." Tenten looked up from her work and realized who was standing at the counter with her father and smiled. She then ran to the counter and jumped over it and embraced him in a hug. What many in Konoha didn't know was that Tenten was actually one of his closest friends. Her father thought one day it could be more to, but who knows. She looked up into his blue eyes and said, "It's good to see you, old friend. Where have you been? What's going on?" "It's good to see you guys again. I'm now going by the name Washi. But I have to ask, how did you know it was me?" he asked him. "That was easy, Washi. I'm going to have to get used to calling you that now. I helped your parents out quite a bit with their weapons and abilities. Your father created some of the most powerful jutsus the world has ever known. But he also embraced the teachings of the Assassin's Brotherhood when your mother taught it to him. He understood the importance of stealth and fighting from the shadows. We shinobi are supposed to be assassins as well in these modern times, but most of them don't even understand what the creed is. Your father may have killed a lot of people in wartime, but he never took the life of an innocent. Believe it or not, the cage of the Hidden Stone Village respected your father, never hurting the innocent. He had to deal with that from his own men more than you know. Each one he killed were those very men who had committed a war crime. So it's not as bad in Earth Country as I was led to believe." Washi said. "It's only a very small fraction of people who want you dead. They are the very people who want a new war to break out. They may even kill the cage and blame it on another country like fire to get it started, or they will use the Akatsuki to do it. I was hoping that I would see an assassin again one day. Come and see what we have to offer, Tenten," he said out loud as she ran up to a door and opened it. As the three entered the room, it was filled with all kinds of weapons that Washi had never seen before. He felt like a kid in a candy store right now. Washi then realized in all the years he had known him, he'd never asked for the man's name. "By the way, he never told me your name?" He gave a smile and then said, "I guess you're right about that one. Call me Leo. My full name is Leonardo Vinci. You see, my ancestor was Leonardo da Vinci. Despite what many people might have said about him, he did find time to father a child and keep them hidden from the Templars. Your ancestor Ezio was my ancestor's good friend thanks to his mother. Every once in a while the two families meet up again when the time is right to put an end to tyranny. As far as I can tell, the Konoha Civilian Council and Danzo may be the modern-day Templars for all we know. Now can you give me a rundown of your equipment, and you have any assassins in training at the moment?" "Well, I have 2 hidden blades on both of my arms that have never failed me. I also have a hidden gun that has come in quite handy, a crossbow with fast reload, and my throwing knives. I also have some light fabric armor, is taking quite a bit of punishment so far. I wouldn't mind developing a new wardrobe, come to think of it. I've used up almost all the extra equipment I brought with me from Spring Country," he said. "Before your mother and father had you, they did take a trip to Spring Country to meet one of the last surviving members of the Order and to see what he was keeping safe. It's good to see you met him. How is he?" "He passed away after completing my training, Leo. I'm a bit limited in the equipment department as I was only able to use what was there at the time. Even though I was limited to what equipment was available, what made it truly impressive with all the knowledge that was there. But luckily all the equipment that was there was in top condition." Leo gave him a once-over and then said, "All right, gives us a look at your equipment, and I mean all of it." armor, weapons and clothing, then let's see if I can improve upon it. Washi did as he was told and watched them work their magic in everything. Within a few minutes Leo walked up to him and gave him back his hidden blades with a new armor bracelet that was as black as night with a dark red symbol of the order embedded in it. Washi slipped them back on and noticed that they were slightly lighter than his older versions and that they fit much better to him. He then activated the hidden blade to see how it would react and was truly impressed with the reaction time and noticed that they were soundless now. There was even room for new add-ons in the future. He just had to ask, but Leo beat him to it. The hidden blades are the same ones you came in with, but I made some improvements to them and they are now much sharper than before. I've also made room for new add-ons, as you can see. As for the armor bracelets for your arms, they are lighter, stronger and will conceal your chakra use. This was something your father asked for, knowing it could be very useful. I'm still working on an improvement to the actual blades themselves, but for the moment you can stop wind-enhanced weapons from cutting through them without chakra being used. But if you do put a little in and if you have a wind element on, let me just say, you could kill just about anybody. What about clothing and armor? I can deal with what I have but want something stronger and lighter so I can move a lot faster, especially when I go to water country to free them and put an end to all the killing. He said, well, they do say that clothing makes the man. I have a few things you should try on right now. As for the battle code, I can make one that will be as light as silk but as strong as steel. I take it you want the same design, blood red flames on the bottom, symbol of the order on the back, blackest night in color. And I think I can make you a new belt to go with that was dark red fabric to be as strong as the old stuff, and you be able to hold more equipment on the back and front, and I can have it done today. But first let's look at some new toys, he said with a smile upon his face. They walked over to a rather large table that had quite a bit of equipment on it, including some of his old equipment. Tenten was also already over there and seemed to be drooling over them. Now to begin with, we'll start with your old hidden gun. It was still extremely accurate and could kill from a good distance, but you had to reload pretty fast to use the next round. Not anymore. With your eagle vision and this new version that can hold up to 6 rounds in it, you can kill a lot more effectively from now. The gun also has a longer reach now with far more powerful ammunition. Even if you miss a vital area of your enemy, they're going to be hurt rather badly. No little hole in their body this time. And it doesn't weigh any more than the old one. Washi then proceeded to equip it his left arm and put in place, and had to admit that it felt very good on him. The next thing that showed him was of course the throwing knives. Your throwing knives were very good, but they were made for a larger man. These ones are custom made just for you and your family. They also have a small seal upon them that will enable you to bring them back to you, so no one will know what your weapons look like and be able to track you with. Also, I can make these for the rest of the new brotherhood that you're building. Try them out. He did just that and threw them into a target dummy that never saw it coming, and had to admit that they moved much faster than his old ones ever did and were far more accurate. Next up we have your new crossbow. It's lightweight, stronger than anything else you find out there in the field. It has a fast reload clip system that can hold up to 12 bolts at a time versus the old 10, and the clip can be reloaded faster. Also, its physical design is much stronger, so you can actually use it as a weapon when need be. Knock down an enemy, crack open a couple of skulls. And the bolts come in a couple of varieties as well, like explosive for one another, could be a smoke bomb that will detonate upon impact of the target. And of course classic arrows are designed to go through most armor. The next one I want to show you is a collection of grenades that we have here. This one right here is a classic high-grade smoke grenade that will help you distract guards and ninjas, allow you to do your work. This one is a pure explosive grenade designed to kill your enemy, so be careful where you use it as you don't want to kill innocents. The last one is a sleep grenade, he said with a smile upon his face as he showed the new weapons to Washi. The next item on the table was none other than what looked like a pair of shoes. These may look like ordinary shoes, but they can allow you to get new areas without the use of chakra. And then there's this. He moved the shoe a little bit and suddenly a hidden blade popped out. That's right, a hidden blade in your shoe to make them more dangerous. And next we have a new hidden blade that poisons your enemy up close and personal or from far away with a dart mode. And last but not least, my first generation special sniper rifle. It'll take some training to get used to this and to become accurate, but with it, if a target is too heavily guarded, for example, you can kill them from long range, this up to a mile. They were supposedly models before the big events that could go up to 5 miles, but they've been lost to time. This one can break down upon itself to be easier to hide, conceal and transport. It only hold one shot at a time but is a very fast reload. I make all the ammo, so you might want to stock up before leaving. Have someone set up a supply line for your new equipment. So what do you think? He asked. What about a sword? Washi asked him. Lean nodded his head and then walked over to a cabinet and pulled out a katana with a black sheath and handed it over to him and then said, "This sword, Washi, was once your father's and now it is yours. My father and an incredible swordsmith forged it for him during the last war. It can cut through just about anything. As for the rest of your brotherhood, I can make just as good swords but nothing on this level of craftsmanship. How soon can the closing be ready for me? I'd say tomorrow morning. Just come in to check. All right." Kukaku sat at Tsunami's breakfast table with her daughter and the other 3 assassin students, eating a good meal and preparing for what the day had to come. They had ironically not seen Washi at all this morning and were a bit worried about their master, as only 2 of them were close to gaining the rank of true assassin, and that was Kukaku and her friend Hank. Just then the surprise of everyone, he walked into the house looking both tired and like a new man. Tazuna noticed the difference and commented upon it. "I see you found your friends and from the looks of things upgraded too." Washi nodded to him and then said, "Yes, I did. When we are done with today's task, I will be taking you to the 10 Swords weapon shop to get some of your gear upgraded as well as the closing, and some of you will be getting new weapons to try out. But first we will be heading to the village ruins of Whirlpool. I'm not expecting trouble, but I'd rather be safe than sorry, so when you are done eating, get your gear and prepare to move out. It's going to be a busy day." Danzo the ninja was not a happy man at all, not one bit. He, along with 2 other members of the Civilian Council of Konoha, sat in his private office and read over the incident report from Crystal Cove. Danzo was surprised by everything that he read in it about what had happened. What he was truly shocked by was the fact that his team had been wiped out so easily by this unknown enemy. The other had been that the mayor that they had put in control of the village had been so easily killed. The 2 men who sat in his office were the only ones from the KCC who had any real understanding of what had happened to their plans as well as experience in combat. The one that looked like a samurai was the first to speak as he put the report down. "This is extremely unexpected. We have lost all control of that vital sea lane. And from what I just read, the Fire Daimyo himself has taken control of the village and has launched an investigation into what happened there as well as to our finances elsewhere. There's no way we can continue to expand our influence and control in Fire Country at this time, and it's all thanks to this assassin. Were the documents that could implicate us removed before the daimyo's investigation team arrived in Crystal Cove?" the other one asked. Danzo nodded his head to this and then said, "Yes, they were. As well as the bodies of my team that I sent to kill this man before he became this kind of threat. But it would appear we underestimated him greatly. I have recently learned that the privateers and pirates from both Spring and Fire Country as well as a local thieves guild was able to put our plans out of commission for the time being. We can only safely make our moves in Lightning and Water Country, but we are still going to have to tread carefully to avoid any more problems with the Fire Daimyo at this time." Right at this moment there was a knock at the door that Danzo answered, only to see one of his personal assistants walk into the room and bow to him and then hand him a small letter that he then proceeded to open and read its contents. He then handed the letter over to his colleagues so they can read it as well. The samurai of the group just smiled. "It looks like the few contacts we still have in Wave Country have come through for us. The assassin has just arrived in Wave Country. And it appears that he's interested in the old Whirlpool ruins. He'll be hitting them tomorrow. I could have a group of my best samurais there by tomorrow morning if we move now." Agreed, there must be something in the ruins he wants. Or he could be using them to get Water Country a little faster. Either way, we have to deal with this now. Water Country is in a delicate state right now. We cannot risk this assassin disrupting our plans or that of our unofficial ally and his S-class workers. And we all know that he can't risk sending his men in there for the risk of exposure. The one who looked like a civilian said. The samurai walked to the door and stopped before exiting and said, "In time we will know more about our enemy or he will be dead. Now if you'll excuse me, gentlemen, have work to do. May the Father of Understanding guide us." The morning was pleasant on the top of Lookout Hill in Wave Country. After the trouble with Gato, it was decided that set of lookouts would be established to protect the country in the future. The lookouts were positioned in just such a way that they could see everything but were impossible to see until we were right on top of them. This morning, lookout closest to the ruins of Whirlpool was starting its normal routine of surveillance and observation. One of the men was in his usual hiding place when he first heard a low rumble of sound and then saw a fast attack airship from Konoha's civilian council, and its destination was the ruins of Whirlpool. He quickly ran to inform his leader about the new unwelcome arrival to their country. Washi calmly walked along the side of a cliff face overlooking the ruins of Whirlpool village. When he came to an edge and stopped, looked over the edge to see what it looked like below. He then smiled, seeing what he was hoping to see. He beckoned them over and then said, "Come over here, my students. It is time for you to perform the leap of faith." One of the guides walked up to them and said, "My father told me stories of the assassin's leap of faith. I always thought they were just stories that he told about his childhood. We don't have the training to go down your way, but we have our own way down." Before Washi could respond, a man came running up to them and gave a nod to the assassin's guide. "Joseph, catch your breath, my boy, and tell us what has happened." The young man, now known as Joseph, did as he was told and then said, "A few minutes ago, sir, we observed a fast attack airship bearing the symbol of the KCC on it. Their course was here to the ruins, sir, and if you look over there you can see them setting up now." One of the guides brought out a pair of binoculars and checked out the scene. The look on his face was not a pleasant one at all. He turned to Washi and said, "The airship does indeed belong to the KCC. It also appears that there are some traitors to our village there as well. It would appear that they do not know we are here already from their position. If you were to come in from the village, they would be in a perfect ambush point. And from the level of men he brought with him, I would say he is only expecting to run into one of you. It appears they do not know there are more of you now." Washi turned to his recruits and said, "This is our first mission together. I'm going to make this simple. Kill as many of them as you can. Capture the traitors if possible, but do not let them escape us. Also stay hidden until I give the word or single, and then happy hunting and honor the creed." With this said, he walked up the edge of the cliff and jumped off it, landing safely, and walking away followed the rest of his recruits and students. Their guides would be down shortly to help them out. The samurai walked up to his informants and asked them, "And you are sure they will come this way?" "I have every reason to believe it will come this way, my master. These are the only known routes into the village ruins that we know of, my master. The only other possible route would be to our backs along the cliff. But there are no safe ways down in that region of the ruins," he said to the samurai. The samurai looked over the ruins and could see the ambush potential of this area. "You also said there was a hidden shipping port that Gato used for his own purposes and could get anyone into water country, correct?" "That is the story, my master. Only Tazuna knows for sure, my lord," he said. Several of the samurai's men were patrolling ahead to get the lay of the land and to know where to set up their ambushes for this enemy. In the shadows of a destroyed building's only standing wall was none other than Washi himself. He then walked right out of the shadows into full view of the soldiers, who then ran at him, intent upon stopping him, only to be cut down by arrows hitting them in their hearts and giving them a quick death. Washi walked up to two of them as they turned to face him, only to receive his hidden blades in their hearts. The samurai was shocked to see the bane of his order's existence before him. He even watched this killer throw two throwing knives into the throats of his men, who fell to the ground dead. The samurai moved his hand forward to direct his man to surround the assassin, their weapons drawn on him. The samurai then walked forward, clapping his hands in a mocking form while laughing at the assassin. He then stopped and said, "I don't know who you are, but you've been a thorn in our side long enough, assassin. I am glad to see that you surrender to us. I'll have my man make your death quick." It was at this point that the samurai noticed the smile on the assassin's face. Without warning, arrows came flying down on his men, killing them. The assassin pushed one of the bodies away and walked towards the samurai. They look in his eyes. The samurai ordered two of his men to engage the assassin and killed him. The two men quickly engaged Washi with the intent to kill him. The first soldier came in a little too high and gave Washi an opening to strike his stomach area with a swipe of his sword, cutting the man open. He quickly blocked the next strike and countered it by cutting the soldier's throat open. The samurai was now both very mad and scared of this man, and realized too late that it was no longer just a single assassin. He knew what he had to do now, and it was not good at all. "My guards, to me now!" The samurai screamed out for his personal guards, who came running out of the airship to protect their master from harm. The samurai quickly gave orders to his men to attack the assassin as he boarded the airship, only to notice the two informants were not present. He turned his head to look back at the assassin, only to see he was no longer alone and that 6 more were now standing alongside him. Both sides then charged each other in a show of force. Once the door to the airship was closed, he quickly ran up to the bridge and gave the order to retreat back to Konoha. He then looked out the window of the airship only to see the last two of his men being cut down right in front of them. For the first time in a long time, the samurai felt a true level of fear ran through him. He then walked over to his personal command chair and sat down, taking out a small piece of jewelry that resembled a cross with a red inner lining. He could only think about what was needed now to end this threat. It was at this point that the captain of the airship turned to his employer and asked, "What course please, Mr. Wolf?" He turned to the captain and said, "Set course for Konoha, and step on it. Looks like the civilian will get his chance next to try to kill you, assassin." Washi walked up to the two recruits he had chosen to capture the wave traders. He gave them his thanks and walked up to the tied-up men and said, "So you like to betray your country? I hope the KCC was paying you enough for this." He then walked over to one of the guides and said, "They're all yours, now let's go see the ruins." It didn't take very long to get to the center of the village ruins. At the center of the village were more intact buildings than they thought they would see. As they walked, Washi then activated his eagle vision to see if there was anything out of the ordinary or something that only he could see. He then noticed what looked like gold footprints leading up to a set of stairs. As he walked up the stairs, saw a fountain with the Brotherhood's symbol on. He then realized that it resembled the staircase leading to the Villa Auditore. He ran up the stairs only to see a beautiful mansion still mostly intact with what looked like seals on the building. He also noticed both the symbol of the Brotherhood and a clan symbol he could never forget, because it was the Uzumaki. He then realized that more records of the Brotherhood were just waiting for him. "I am home." It had been a day since the incident in the Whirlpool village ruins that had cost the samurai a good deal of his men in the mission. Danzo was also known as the ninja amongst their group of Templars. They sent inside the secret room dedicated to their order inside of Danzo's secret base. The room was also designed to seat in a way the other members of the organization currently in both Earth and Water Country, as well as the member of the Red Clouds who were currently communicating to them via holographic projections of themselves. There was an area for each of them, and in the center of the room was large red and black cross embedded in the floor of the room. Danzo was the first to speak about what had happened. "So the assassin is no longer working alone, is he? He now has assistants, is what you're telling me?" "I'm afraid so, sir. He took on almost all of my men single-handed and then brought out his own forces who appeared to be his students to me, and then proceeded to kill them all without mercy, even captured the two spies we had in Wave Country. I hate to say it now, but we are blind in that country now. We no longer have the resources to learn what could happen there." The samurai said, "I'm afraid the situation is much worse than you know, Wolf," said one of the holograms from the Water Templars. "What do you mean?" the civilian said. The hologram that represented one of the Earth Country Templars then responded, "Wave has sent for aid from the Hidden Sand Village and will be arriving within 2 days." This was not the news they were hoping to hear at all, and it was only going to get worse for them. "That's not all. We have also learned that the Hidden Cloud Village has also sent in an agent into Water Country to aid the rebels in their fight against our control. We cannot allow them to aid our enemies in that country, or for the assassin to accomplish his goals in stopping us or aiding the Cloud Ninja agent." At this point, the civilian decided it was his time to act. "Gentlemen, please. Both this agent and the assassin are going into a territory that I have the advantage in. We have the assassin's description, and we know that the Cloud agent will be in the country legal, so I can put a bounty on his head and the agent's as well. You all know we have bounty hunters in that country who won't hesitate to kill them for money." Danzo gave him a smile and then said, "Agreed. Set things in motion as soon as possible, and may the Father of Understanding guide us." Washi was amazed by the interior of the Villa Uzumaki. It had been more than a week since the attack by the KCC, and everything had turned out all right for the small group of assassins who now called the villa home. Leo had been studying some of the villa's archived documents and come across a new upgrade to the hidden blade that he believed would come in quite handy for Washi when he set out for Water Country and the new mission that it would entail. "As I promised you, Washi, your newly upgraded hidden blades, or as I should call them now, hook blades." Washi then proceeded to place them on his arms and then try them out. "They are perfection, Leo. How soon will you be able to produce more?" "I'm already working on them as we speak, but I have one more item for you to try out when you get to Water Country." He then pulled out a strange device and then placed it on his arm. "What is this?" "An ascension cable. This will allow you to gain access to previously unavailable areas, like in a hidden village for example. And it will get you out of sight a lot faster too." And I've already prepared a scroll with extra weapons and equipment for the assassins that you will meet and train along the way, Washi. He said, I have a feeling I'm going to be getting a lot of use out of these items. After saying this, he then turned to one of his best students. Kukaku, I leave the order in your hands here for the time being. Watch over them well as I would. He then turned and proceeded to the shipping port to continue his mission into Water Country and the Hidden Mist Village. Things were far worse in Water Country than Yugito had ever imagined them to be. She had only been there a day, but she had already been forced to kill up to 5 bounty hunters just to save her life, and that wasn't counting the constant patrols that were looking for not only the rebels and their resistance but also any cloud ninja they encountered were to be killed on sight as well. That meant that someone knew she was coming to help the rebels. She had also discovered that trying to do any form of ninja free running was just about impossible unless you had the same gear that the Mist Anbu had on them at all times that allowed them to control their chakra and perform it without any problems. At this moment she was wishing that it had not been a solo mission that she had been sent out on this time. Unfortunately, without her chakra, escaping them was going to prove to be futile. By this point she was totally surrounded by the Mist Anbu, who took one look at her and smiled under their masks, realizing how happy they could make their masters and the Templars' order by capturing this woman. What they did not know is that across from the building there that were currently standing on being watched by someone they didn't even know was there, and he was very pissed off at right now. The lead Anbu then said, "Surrender now, host of the Two-Tailed Cat, by order of the Templars of the Hidden Mist Village." She was now very scared about what was going to happen to her at this very moment until she and the Anbu heard screaming for them to stop. They all looked over to see a man standing over on the other building. The distance was far too long for a normal person to jump or for someone without chakra to make. But whoever said this man was normal, he had seen that there was a street light suspended between the two buildings and it was in the middle of the distance. This is all he needed to get across thanks to his hooked blades. He ticked off in a dead run and made the jump. Everyone on the other building thought that he would fall to his death until extended one of his hooks and caught the streetlight, which continued to send him flying across the top of the other building, where he proceeded to come down with both of his hidden blades extended and entering the back of two of the Anbu, killing them instantly as he landed on them. The remaining Anbu were stunned at what they had just seen this man do in the second, and they realized who he was, but by this point it was already too late for them as he began to cut them down like they were nothing to him. One of his hook blades caught just under the jawbone of the last living Anbu and then pulled with enough force, breaking the man's neck. Yugito was in quite a bit of shock at seeing this man before her, and she also realized just who he was. The blue eyes and blonde hair and the whisker marks on his cheeks that she had just barely seen were a dead giveaway that this was Naruto Uzumaki, who was also the host of the Nine-Tailed Fox Demon, just like she was the host to the Two-Tailed Cat Demon. But that wasn't all, she also recognized that he was an assassin. Washi walked up to her and gave her a once-over to make sure she wasn't injured by the Templar Anbu, but also realized she wasn't getting off the top of this building without the help of her chakra. But it was the words that came out of her mouth next to truly surprised him. "You're Naruto Uzumaki, aren't you, assassin?" He wanted to her then said, "How do you know who I am, Ms.? My name is Yugito, assassin, and my village knows all you about your bloodline, the Animus, as well," she said to him. He was shocked to hear this, but also realized that someone outside of the order probably knew of their existence. "And why should I trust you, Cloud Ninja of the Two-Tailed Cat?" She had a feeling that this was not going to be easy for her with what had happened in the past, and she knew she was going to have her work cut out for her, but she also did have to admit that he was kind of cute. "Look, I know there's nothing I can say to you to make you trust me, but you have to understand that I'm here to help these people in any way I can. And I know that's why you're here too. And when your village kidnapped my mother, what was that all about?" he asked her. "So the stories about the Animus are true. You can relive the memories of your ancestors. Look, I don't know what my village did to your family, but you have to understand that an assassin saved my mother long ago. I just want to repay my debt to them. Can you get off of this building without the use of your chakra? No. And are you willing to help these people by becoming one of my assassins? I will train you to do what is needed, but first we must find the rebels and help them. Now come here and I will get us down," he said as he took her in his arms and then jumped off the side of the building, landing without a problem at all, and of this without the use of chakra that truly surprised her. He then took out his supply scroll and then unsealed some new clothing for her to wear, as well as some new equipment including her first hidden blade. "These will help you out and hide your chakra from our enemies. Now come, we have much to do." Yugito had just finished putting on her new clothing and walked over to Washi. He took a look at her and then said, "Good, now tell me, can you free run without your chakra at all?" "No, everyone in my village is trained to use it. My mother forced me to train without chakra at times," she said. "So you know nothing of parkour then?" "No." He smiled at her and then said, "Alright, once we get to a safe location I'll start your training in it, but unit, then we need to find the rebels and get the lay of the land and so we know what we're fighting here." She nodded to him and pulled up her hood so no one would see her face and walked with him out of the alley and onto the street to begin their search for the rebel headquarters. Yugito stayed close to Washi as they walked to their designation. He then decided to ask her some questions. "So how much about us assassins do you really know about?" "Only a little bit that we know about your bloodline, the animus, like how you can relive your ancestors' memories for one. Or that some of you have some kind of eye bloodline that lets you see who your enemies are or something. Or how you some kind of rule about not killing the innocent, which I happen to like a lot and we also adopted it recently as well." "Well, that is one of our rules, or I should say tenets. I believe I'll start with the first one as your first lesson, being an assassin of our order." "Tenets? You mean there is more than one?" "Yes. The first tenet is, as you know, is to never hurt the innocent or kill them. Our second tenet is to blend into the crowd, become one with them, that way you are truly invisible and yet they will cannot see, and it lets you get closer to your targets. The third and final tenet is to never betray the brotherhood or your clan. Do you understand this?" "Yes, I do. You assassins are truly incredible, or should I say we are. I can see why we are so effective against Anbu and Ninja. I guess that is why my mother was saved by one of you, an old man, when she was pregnant with me," she said to him. "You wouldn't happen to know the name of this old soul, would you?" he asked her. "My mother said his name was Raven, after he saved her. He set off to Snow Country, or as it's now called, Spring Country." He smiled and laughed a little bit and then said, "My old teacher saved your mother's life. Perhaps it was fate that we met after all." She was surprised to hear that from him and then asked him, "He trained you? Do you know where he is? I'll like to meet him if it's okay." Washi's mood then became quite somber as he then said to her, "I'm afraid that is now impossible. He passed away about 6 months ago. That's when I set out on my quest. I was really hoping to meet him. That reminds me, I never asked what you like to be called?" "Call me Washi Yugito," he said to her. Yugito was now keeping her eyes open, looking for the resistance meeting spot, which was of course a small bar and inn which would service them. She then saw what she was looking for and then realized they had a problem. "That's the inn we're looking for, but as you can see we have a big problem." She then pointed over to several mist ninjas who were currently patrolling the area looking for any sign of the rebels or trouble. Washi then decided to try out a new tactic he had been working on, and he also realized that this could get them in without any trouble at all. "I knew how to get us in there in Yugito without any trouble at all," he said to her as he pulled something small and round out of one of his item pouches. "Is that a bomb you're holding?" "In a way, yes, it is. It's called a cherry bomb and it's only for distractions. It won't hurt anyone, I assure you, Yugito." After he said this, he then lit the fuse and threw it in a direction far away from the front of the inn so the guards would be distracted, and as he had predicted, it went off, causing all of them to move over to see what the disturbance was all about. Washi and Yugito quickly used the distraction to enter the inn without anyone ever seeing them entering it or even knowing that they were even there. "Okay, I so want one of those, master," she said as they started looking for her contact and eventually walked up to the bar itself. "Yes, would I get you too?" the bartender asked them. Yugito pulled down her hood and then said, "Well, we'll have the mist special if you don't mind." The inn's bartender nodded to them and then began to prepare their drinks, as well as nodded to another person to come over to them. As soon as they had their drinks in their hands, they were approached by one of the many patrons of the inn who then nodded for them to follow him into the back. It was at this point that they noticed a good deal of the resistance who now had their weapons drawn on them, ready for any kind of trouble from them, until a tall woman with long red hair in a blue dress walked up to them. The woman walked to both Yugito and Washi and took a long good look at them. What she saw surprised her to no end, and she was shocked to say the least. She had thought they had all fallen and that they were all lost to the world. Her next words were shocked to them both: assassins. Hinata and her younger sister Hanabi now stood in front of their father Heishi Hyuga, who was now contemplating a terrible decision that he knew had to be done or his family would be torn apart and he could do nothing to stop it from happening. "The decision I'm making will not be an easy one for any of us, but it's the only way to save you from what is to come. 2 years ago they banished our only hope to save our family's clan from corruption. He said to them, "Why, father? What is going on that would force us from our home?" Hinata asked him. "There are people here in our village who are part of a group that wants to control everything, and many of our elders are now joining them for power and control over all of us. When you two leave, you won't leave alone." As he said this, Asuma Sarutobi and his nephew Konohamaru as her sensei Kurenai walked up alongside them. Asuma had seen how things were going through most of the village, and with these so-called Templars gaining even more power than ever before, and things were getting more serious, and he knew this was the only hope for his soon-to-be family as well as his nephew and his friends. Hinata was shocked to hear these things could happen in their own home village, but then realized it had been going on for some time now, and with so many things that had gone downhill since Naruto had been banished by the KCC. What she can't know is that everything that Tsunade had planned was for nothing now, and that she had been the one to propose this to Heishi so he saved his daughters from them and be prepared for the future. He looked into their eyes and said, "All of you have to go to Water Country to seek out their capital where the new hidden village is. When you get there, look for a man named Ao. Now please, you have to go before it's too late. I hope to see you again one day." Mei was surprised to see them standing before her, and she could tell it was definitely a master and his student. It was at this time that she noticed all the looks her men were giving them and realized she had to defuse the situation before it got out of hand. "Assassins, do you think they were sent to kill us?" one of them said. Mei decided to test them just to make sure they were what they seemed to be. "Stand down for right now, all you. What is the first tenet of the creed?" Washi smiled and pulled down his hood to reveal his face to everyone, which surprised Mei was that she knew who he was. He then said, "Stay your blade from the flesh of the innocent, or to put it more simply, do not kill the innocent." Mei then walked up to them and said for all to hear, "It's okay, stand down all of you. So, you're Naruto Uzumaki, the Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tailed Fox. And an assassin. I never thought I would see one again. But here you are, and you could help us, I take it." He nodded to her and said, "Yes, I'm here to help you, and I'm going by the name Washi now. This lovely lady is Yugito, my new student and formerly of the Hidden Cloud Village. She's here to help you as well." Mei sat down with them and explained what she knew about the order. "Before the purge, my father was one of the last assassins here in Water Country. He fought a group of them trying to save lives and was killed for. He trained me in a bit of their deadly arts that I've been training them in, but it's not enough to turn the tide in our favor at this moment. We need the help of the people to do it. Maybe you can do it, Master Assassin." "I will try, but first I must start her training as soon as possible." "But I must ask you first, do you have eagle vision?" he asked her. "No, I do not have it. But she might." Yugito looked a little surprised as she said, "I don't have it. I think I would remember having something like that." "If you've been trying to turn it on like a normal bloodline, you will never activate it. You have to understand it's a little different. For one, you have to concentrate to make it work," Mei said. Yugito concentrated on it for just a moment, and then her whole world changed as the environment seemed to become black and the people inside the base were blue except for Washi and Mei, who were now gold. Her reactions to this were quite impressive to say the least, and she was surprised that it worked and then said, "This is so cool. Everything has changed in here, and everyone is now a different color, like everyone is blue and you too are gold with a hint of blue. And even though it's all black, I can still see everything perfectly." Washi gave her a warm smile, walked up to her and then said, "That is the power of eagle vision. It lets you see who is friend or foe and to see what is not seen. And in time, if you master it, will go up to eagle, since with more abilities than you have, right? As for the colors, you see the people are represented by have several different meanings, like blue means ally or friend. White is neutral, those are the people we are trying to protect. Red means they are your enemies, and as for gold, if it has a blue tint to it, that means it's someone who is a very important ally like myself and Mei here. But if it's a red tint, that means that they are targeted for assassination or for gathering information from. Never forget this was my student. Now Mei, is there a place I can start her training at?" "It just so it happens that I do, and I have something for you as well. Now follow me." They followed her to a corner of the wall that she opened, revealing a secret passageway. They then walked a bit and came upon a huge room deep underground with many of the resistance fighters in the center. It was a large area which was perfect for the training he had in mind for Yugito, as well being big enough to summon a too large boss. "This is perfect, Mei. Now you said you had something for me?" "I do, but first, do you have a summoner already?" she asked him. "Yes, the toads." "All right, then summon your boss." She then saw him summon the toad boss Gamabunto, which surprised all of the resistance members to no end. Gamma looked down to see his summoner and realized he looked just like his mother and father and realized he had some serious explaining to do. So you've an assassin now, are you? But I can't blame you after what Jiraiya told me about what happened to you. So why did you summon me here? Mei decided at this point to make her presence known to the boss Toad and walked up to him and said, I asked him to do it, Lord Gamabunto. My name is Mei, and I am the one who currently holds the Eagle summoning contract. It is his right to have it back. I'm just hoping you allow him to use it as well as his brotherhood. He has it, now sign the contract and summon my old friend here. Gamma said. Washi then walked up to the contract and signed it with his blood. He then walked into the center of the room and summoned the biggest eagle he'd ever seen in his life. Not only that, it wore the same kind of hood on its head that he did. It also wore an incredible set of metal armor on its chest with the symbol of the assassins upon it. His talons were also heavily armed. This was no birds to take lightly. The eagle boss looked down upon its new summoner and said that happiness, it is good to see that an Uzumaki is still alive. And it is good to see you again, old friend. I take it he is also your summoner. Yes, he is, and my clan will not hesitate to share him with your clan. I'm looking forward to this, Toulon. Gamma said. Washi was very happy at this point and then turned with the devilish smile towards Yugito. Now my student, it's time to begin your training. I hope. The look on her face was one of, oh shit. A.N. The song I Will Not Bow by Breaking Benjamin starts playing in the background as a montage for this scene and part of the story. The first day of her training was brutal to say the least. She was learning quickly that assassins had to be masters of many things if they were going to survive or accomplish their missions, but in a sense her training as a ninja I prepared her for much of this, keyword being mostly here. She had done pretty well the first day until it came time to practice her free running, and she learned very quickly that just about everyone here could perform without the use of chakra at all. As she practiced rerunning, she learned that there were seals preventing the use of chakra during this kind of training, and she learned that chakra in this city was a dangerous thing to use. She fell a couple of times forgetting about the seals but got right back up and continued. As the first day ended, she learned this was not going to be as easy as she thought it would be. Day 2 began with her getting up quite early, eating her breakfast. Beginning a new set of training, she learned many ways to assassinate some hidden blade and even began some training on the hook blade on other things, and she was definitely getting better, so much so that she was now perform the free running without as many problems. It only occurred every once in a while and she saw her master smiling at her and she had to admit he was getting cuter, but of course she had a feeling the training was only going to get worse. Day 3, and again she got up early and eat her breakfast. Despite being a little sore from the previous 2 days of training, she still got right back into the training by this point, and her free running was nearly perfect and she was up for just about any other task they could throw at her by this point. She had proven that her skills at throwing knives was perfect, and she was already learning to perform the counter kill skills that made the assassins so much more deadlier than the local ninja. Not surprising, her free running was almost exactly perfect, and by the next day it would probably be. She had a feeling the next day would be just a little harder and that he had something in mind for her. Day 4, once again she got up at the crack of dawn and realized today would be one of the worst days for her. Washi had decided to test her skills by sending her up against his shadow clones. This way she would learn what real combat for an assassin was like, but without the risk of death, and to further her training, and as it turned out, for her free running, which was by now actually perfect. Day 5, by this point Washi had decided to show her the leap of faith and prepare her for the next day's activities. As he expected, she performed without any problems. He then proceeded to ask his boss summoner Toulon if she could sign the contract and summoned the eagles as well, and he did not object to this and welcomed the new assassin to the order. A.N. The song ends at this point. Ao awoke early and walked out to get ready for his meeting with the refugees from the Hidden Leaf village, only to run into the 2 assassins who appeared to be heading out for something but stopped once they saw him and asked him a question. Ao, you wouldn't happen to know where a large tower is, that we can get a view of the entire city? Yes, I do. The tower is where I'll be meeting some people there. I could use your help if you two don't mind at all. He asked them. Yes, we will go with you, Washi said. Yugito couldn't believe what she was doing right then. Here she was climbing one of the highest tower in the capital of Water Country, and she was scared shitless, but she still did it. As they reached the top of the tower and saw what Washi was standing on was a large piece of wood sticking out, and followed him out onto it. As she walked up to him, she just had to ask, why are we up here, Washi, and what are we doing? We are here so you can synchronize the city with your eagle vision. This way the city before you can be seen more clearly and so you know where you're going and even when trouble is around. Now go to the edge and activate your eagle vision and look upon the city, it will take care of itself from there. As she activated eagle vision the world changed like never before her. She then noticed her master walking up to her and looked down. You will now perform the leap of faith like so. He take a running leap off the tower into a hay band directly below them. As she watched everything and realized what he meant, this is just like the small scale. She quickly followed behind him down to the street level. Ao then walked up to them. I see you two are done now. I have to get to my contacts. They should be this way, I just hope they didn't use there. Just then they all felt a large chakra spike close by and knew something had just gone wrong. Oh shit. Ao watched the two assassins quickly jump onto the top of the buildings and started running towards the source of the chakra spike. He had a bad feeling this was going to happen and went to help as well. When Ao arrived on the scene he witnessed the people he had been coming to meet him being attacked by the mist Anbu and sprung into action. But before he could go on the attack he witnessed the two assassins killing up to 4 of them of the Anbu, 2 each, by jumping down on them, and it was a flurry of movement as they killed the remaining 6 Anbu as quickly as possible. Yugito quickly threw down the last remaining Anbu and stomped on his neck, killing him instantly. The Leaf Ninja were totally shocked at what they had just seen, while nobody as one of them was looking directly at the head assassin and said one word that would change everything. It was Hinata who said it, Naruto. Asuma and Kurenai were totally shocked at what they had just seen. Naruto. It was surprising to say the least. But before they could say anything at all they were teleported away by a transportation seal to a deep underground facility filled with rebel fighters who were now looking at with amazement on their faces. They were now currently sitting at a table in one of the many hideouts of Water Country looking at the young ninja turned assassin and thinking what had become of him. It was clear to them that this was not a normal meeting at all for them, but then Konohamaru and his 2 friends Moegi and Undan ran up to the assassin, gave him a hug to surprise of everyone there. I'm so happy to see you're okay, boss. Where have you been? The young Sarutobi said with happiness. Asuma and Kurenai could not help but be surprised by what they were seeing before them, and Asuma was hoping to see the young man again so he could convince him to return to the village so they can end some of the nightmares that had been happening in the village. Washi then pulled down his hood and said, It's good to see you guys again as well, but I go by Washi now as it is much harder for my enemies to find me if they are looking for some else. Hinata walked up to him and gave him a hug as she was so happy to see him again. To her surprise he then said to her, It's good to see you again, Hinata. How have you been? And how did you know it was me? It was all thanks to my Byakugan that I know it was you, and I am doing well now, but so much has happened back home, Naruto, I mean Washi. It's gotten so bad my father sent me and my sisters here to a war zone to be safe. She said to him. It was at this point that Asuma walked over to him and then said, Naruto, we need to talk right now. About what? You know you have to go back to the village in 5 months, don't you? If you go back it could change everything there. She has much to tell you, but only if go back, Naruto. You shouldn't have gone like you did in the first place. He said to the young man, always the look of disappointment and anger upon his face. You mean like who my parents are, and let's not forget that she was the one banished me. And as I remember you did nothing to help me and you supported her in her actions against me. But I have to admit, if it hadn't been for your actions and hers I never would have found my heritage out. But that doesn't mean I'm ever going back to that corrupt village ever again if I can help it. And let's not forget I'm not the only one who left the village. Everyone could feel the emotion in his voice as he said this to Asuma. It wasn't supposed to be like this, Naruto. Lady Tsunade had to banish you in order to save you from the council. Her plan was to send you with Master Jiraiya to continue your training and also to take you to the Fire Temple so you could learn to control the 9 tails. He explained her plan but also revealed some of its flaws to him. While her plan has merit, it would never work. For one, I know that Jiraiya would weaken the seal on the fox, only making it more dangerous for me in the long run. Plus I know all about the exile clauses that are in play. Asuma was surprised to hear this but then realized yet known everything from the beginning they had failed. Kurenai decided it was time to know a bit more about what was going on. You look completely different now, Naruto. But why are you here? I'm here to save these people from the bloodline purge and this country from the Templars who are trying to control it and don't care who they hurt in the process. Washi said. Templars, we didn't think they were real. Asuma said. Washi turned his head and looked into Asuma's eyes as he spoke. You know something about the Templars, don't you? Let me guess, has something to do with the KCC, doesn't it? Lady Tsunade suspect there was something wrong with the KCC for some time now and had Kakashi keep an eye on them, but we never get enough evidence to do anything against them. But everything he collected she sent with us to keep it safe and out of their hands. I helped him at one point and we overheard the three talking about the other Templars were doing their part. It would appear you have been brought into this war, and yet you know nothing about it. You better sit down so I can explain it to you. They all walked over to a large table and all sit down, and by this time May had also come over to hear their conversation as well, and they won't allow it. Was like story time. To understand what I'm about to tell you all, you have to understand first that this story goes back before the great event. It's a very old story. A long time ago, group of kings and their spiritual leader the Pope decided to start a crusade to retake what they called the Holy Lands no matter the cost. The war went on for years and eventually caught the attention Assassins Brotherhood, who tried to keep the fighting on the battlefield and not in cities, but this didn't always work. As a group, crusaders called the Templars Knights decided the only way to end the fighting was to have total control over the people. And eventually they heard of an artifact that could give them that power. That artifact was known as the Apple of Eden. The look on Asuma's face told him everything he needed to know. The Templars were aware of the pieces of Eden. We heard them say the word Eden a few times here, and they're like they were obsessed with finding whatever it was. Please continue with the story, Washi, Kurenai said. He gave her a smile and then continued. It's about at this time that one of my ancestors who went by the name of Altair was brought into the war, and he was the one who changed everything. At the beginning of it he was arrogant and prideful, but as he was sent out on his missions he began to learn what was at stake. Eventually made a terrible discovery and eventually eliminated his enemies up to a point and kept the artifact out of the enemy's hands. But a good deal of Templars who wanted to control the world went back to a part of the world the time that was called Europe. About 100 years or so history recorded they had been destroyed, but the truth was they were just waiting for the right time to strike again, and they found it in the year 1476. How do you know this, boss? Moegi asked him. Because Moegi, I am an assassin like my ancestors before me. Asuma was a bit confused by all of this and said, but aren't ninjas assassins? I mean, we do the same kind of missions, right? Right at this moment everyone just started laughing at what he had just said, only for Washi to explain the difference. Besides Anbu, how many ninja do you know that can kill a target without a flashy jutsu? Or not to be seen by your enemy or sensed by their chakra as they move in for the kill. But the truth is that assassins have been doing this for a lot longer than you have. And as for how I know all of this is quite simple. There are archives of the Brotherhood hidden all over the world, and my bloodline allows me to see my ancestors' memories. The former Konoha ninjas were surprised to say the least as Washi continued telling his tale. Ezio Auditore was the name of my ancestor during this time. You see, he never asked the assassin, it was forced upon him when his father and brothers were killed by the Templars. He then took up the fight against them. For many years he fought against them throughout his home country of Italy all the way to its heart, the ancient city of Rome. There he fought them for control of the apple and succeeded. Eventually he decided to head to the ancient home of our order Masayoff on a pilgrimage of sorts, but was forced into a race against time to stop them from discovery and its secrets. That very search led him to the ancient and troubled city of Constantinople, which was part of the Ottoman Empire. That city was just a story or legend. Undawn said. It is very real, I can assure you of that. Over time Ezio was able to stop the Templars and opened the vault in Masayoff. After this he retired and started his family. Then in the year 2012 another ancestor of mine named Desmond Miles wanted nothing to do with the Brotherhood as he thought everything about it was just story. He was then captured by the most powerful form of the Templars, a company named Abstergo, who were now looking for the pieces of Eden and used my ancestor to try to find them. Eventually, with the help of a woman named Lucy, he was able to escape back to the assassins and ultimately helped save the world from total destruction. And as for the Templars and their company Abstergo, it turned out that being that powerful and big was the ultimate flaw and ultimately led to their near extinction, as unlike the assassins remained hidden, they were around everywhere and took the brunt of the great event. I have the feeling that only a few things of their order have survived the ravages of time, and it might explain why they are now looking for the pieces of Eden again. He said, we all know that the event was the beginning of our era, but to have so much history have survived the event is truly remarkable, Naruto. If you need help in saving this world, you got it for me and my clan, right Konohamaru? Asuma then saw his young nephew nodded in agreement as well as his future wife Kurenai as well. It's been a while since anyone's used my given name, but Naruto Washi Uzumaki has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? When I'm in a safe place like here I want to use my given name again," he said. It was at this time that Hinata realized that there was a problem with keeping Washi's identity secret and had to do with her clan's bloodline. "Naruto, what would happen if on one of your missions you ran into a member of my clan who was working for them and they used the Byakugan? They will know who you are." Mei was the first to come up with a solution. "That's a problem to be sure, but not one that can cripple us. There are seals that can block the all-seeing eye and they're here somewhere. Before the purge my father met with a foreign assassin who brought documents in the arts of sealing here to hide them. She told my father of the seals and why they were here. It was to keep them safe. I know they were of Uzumaki origin. And since you're in Uzumaki I think they can help not only you but I as well." "Do you know where the entrance is, Mei?" Washi asked her. "It's somewhere in this room, only someone with eagle vision can find it. That's what my father told me anyways, and it's one of the reasons I set up my base of operations here," Mei said to him. Washi immediately activated his eagle sense and began scanning the room looking for the entrance, which immediately glowed before him on a nearby wall. With a smile on his face he pulled up his hood and walked over to the wall. Within a few seconds had hit the switch and watched the door open before him. He turned to the others and said, "With any luck I'll be back with the scrolls. Until I get back with them start their training, Yugito." She gave him a nod as he entered the tunnel on his new adventure. The ship's ramp had finally stopped lowering and a tall man with a hat on his head that concealed his identity began walking down it and stopped right before a man who looked like a nobleman. The man in the hat then introduced himself simply as the civilian and why he was here in the first place. The nobleman was about to introduce himself when the civilian put up his hand and began walking at a brisk pace and said, "You may dispense with the pleasantries, I'm here to do what you could not. You fail to understand, civilian, is that we are in a war right now with a very dangerous enemy. These freaks of nature will just simply not die as well as their supporters. But we at least have full control of this country unlike you and your branch of us," the nobleman said. "We have had only one major threat to Fire Country and you have a full-blown rebellion on your hands here. Besides that, one problem has come here and we believe that this assassin will kill you for sure, that's why I'm here," the civilian said. "The resistance hasn't been that active of late. I believe we are beginning to win despite what's happened last week," the nobleman said. This caught the attention of the civilian who then asked, "What did happen?" "2 Anbu teams were killed this week alone and that makes 3 this month so far. We usually only have like 1 or 2 deaths a month from the resistance," the nobleman said. "The assassin is already here. I'm going to have to increase the pressure on them before this gets out of hand, and we have another crystal cove on our hands here," the civilian said. Washi walked a bit and then jumped down, hitting the ground beneath him hard, making plenty of noise, and saw that he was in a large catacomb of some kind that had clearly seen better days. As he surveyed the area he then saw Iwan looked like a ghost made of light doing the exact same thing he was doing, and then he recognized exactly who it was, Mother. He now realized who the foreign assassin that Mei's father had talked about and I met so long ago. It was his own mother, Kushina Uzumaki, who had brought the lost documents here to be kept safe and out of their enemies' hands. From the way she looked he could tell it was before he was born, and watched her finally find a path and take it. He then decided to follow her and took off in a dead run, jumping from one spot to another in free running, and occasionally caught the sight of seals that were preventing the use of chakra here. This place was designed only for assassins and not for the modern ninja. Eventually he saw her finally jump towards a hanging oil lamp which she used to jump onto a wall and climb up as he did the same, following in her footsteps. It was almost like she was guiding him on his way through these catacombs. Once he made it to the top of the wall he walked forward only to see a stone with a pressure door and what looked like locking mechanism with a skull in the middle, and watch her put her fingers into the eye sockets and pulled up, releasing the locking mechanism in the door. He did exactly the same and heard mechanical noises coming from it and pushed the door fully opened until he could walk through the opening. Once he was through he began to hear noises indicating that people were down here, and also noticed just how large the new cavernous-like area. He and the apparition of his mother noticed that there were many pillars supporting the areas above him, and it was perfect for someone like him to move about through safely without being noticed by anyone. He then walked to the edge and peered over, as well as listened to what the people inside this crypt, for lack of a better word, were saying. "What the hell are we doing here anyways? We're bounty hunters, not archaeologists." The leader of the group walked forward and then said to them, We're here because something important is down here, you fools. We don't have to worry about anybody trying to kill us down here, and this is an easy job, so I don't want to hear about. And I don't care if you have to desecrate these graves to find what we're looking for. One of the others then had to ask, what are we looking for, sir? Any kind of artifact that doesn't appear to be part of this place or scrolls containing information, now start looking. The leaders said. Washi knew he had to do something about these men, and he had to do it fast. It looks like the Templars begin their search for not only the pieces of Eden but for the codex pages as well. I have to stop. At this point Washi walked back to the door, resealing, keeping them away from the resistance fighters and his future assassins. He then quickly made a running jump onto one of the support pillars and surveyed the area. It was too dark to see all of them for normal person, but never said he was normal. He quickly activated his eagle sense and could see all of them and was surprised by the sheer numbers of them. Even with his skills he can take on mountain ones, but then he remembered the poison blade and went right to work using the fact that this was a crypt to his advantage. He waited patiently until one of the workers approached a sarcophagus and opened it, not caring or showing any respect for the deceased inside. He then lined up a shot with the poison dart and let it fly, hitting his target dead on in the back of the neck. The effects were instantaneous as the bounty hunter became delusional and dangerous even to his own colleagues, and eventually hit the ground hard and stopped moving altogether. The leader of the bounty hunters ran over and examined the fallen man only to find him dead for no apparent reason at all. At the same time a crowd was gathering around him and the corpse. One of the men then said, "Sir, we should leave this place right now, it is cursed, I tell you." The leader of the bounty hunters then turned his head to look this man in the eyes and said, "There is no such thing as curses, you will do your job, do you understand me?" What they didn't know is that by this point Washi was already hunting a new target and eventually found one of another man desecrating a grave, lined up a shot and let loose, and again the effects are instantaneous this time, though he managed to kill one of his comrades in the process. Before the leader could even get to this new scene, another one of his men began to act the same way before falling dead before them. The man who voiced his concerns about a curse was now screaming for them to get out of this crypt. Before the leader can even issue an order, another one of his men fell after opening a sarcophagus and rummaging through it. He then looked over and noticed not one of his men were going anywhere near anymore this sarcophagus, and instead started running out screaming for their lives. He became quite angry and screamed out in frustrations and left with his men, realizing it was nothing he could do to salvage the situation. He already lost too many men. Do not even attempt to salvage anything from here, and said he planned to seal it up and leave. Washi then proceeded to follow the image of his mother again along the pillows until he came to another wall that he had to climb up. As he climbed up the wall he then noticed her image jumping to a small outcropping which was hidden from view from the ground. He then did the same as her and walked up the wall, noticing her pushing a stone. He then activated his eagle sense and noticed the stone was glowing with the symbol of the Brotherhood, and like his mother he pushed it, and hearing the sound of the wall moving event pushed it forward, walking into a large room. He then noticed in the center of the room the image of his mother walking up and placing the scroll that had been on her back down upon a pedestal, then walked over to another part of the wall that had ladder on it and saw her going up it. The scroll had upon it both the symbols of the Brotherhood and of his clan. He picked up the scroll and headed over to the ladder, began to climb his way up and out of the sanctuary. Sometime later he emerged from a similar hole in the middle of an alley with no one present in it and was thankful for this. He then climbed up the nearest building until he was on the roofs and began running them, taking out an occasional guard here and there, and eventually came upon a new tower that was housing a group of mist Anbu in it. What he was truly surprised about is that their security here was so relaxed that anyone who was in his position could get in without anyone ever noticing it until it was too late. And for this group it was truly too late. Many of the civilians and even the merchants who lived outside of this power were scared of it, knowing full well that the Anbu and the city guard could do whatever they wanted to them, and no one, not even the resistance, had the power to stop them at all. That was until he heard the sounds of screaming swords crashing into each other and cries of mercy from the very people who had terrorized them for so long were now being victimized themselves. The people were shocked to say the least. They also noticed that a great deal of the guards who were normally patrolling the roofs were gone as well. They then noticed a man climbing up the side of the tower, snipped out upon the ledge, then after about a minute he jumped off the tower. Right at this point the tower exploded, destroying the whole area for the garrison and the Anbu in it. Everyone was shocked to say the least. Asuma was not having a good day at all. The new training that he was receiving in the arts of being an assassin proved to him that the modern ninja relied too heavily on chakra. He had already fallen about 3 times during the free-running training and had to admit he had no idea what Anbu training was really like. That often joked that they had it easy. Now he's beginning to realize just how hard their lives really were and had more respect for them and for the assassins themselves. If this was the kind of training they had to go through and use every day, he can only begin to realize just how hard the missions they had to work were. As he picked himself up off the floor, he then noticed his nephew and friends as well as Hinata and her sister Hanabi were doing much better than he had been. The only reason Kurenai was doing this was because of her condition at this time. He then heard laughing as he saw both Mei and Yugito walking up to him. "Are you two having fun?" Mei was the first to respond to him. "In a way, yes, we are. You've used chakra for everything in your life and career as a ninja, as a shinobi. But never once did you ever consider what it was like to fight without it. In history of the Assassin's Brotherhood, chakra never exists until the event. And in this world, if you can take out the use of chakra, then you can rule the world and defeat any enemies in today's world." Asuma then noticed that the others were listening in as well, but before anyone could say a word, Washi walked into the room and then said, "It's rarely that simple. I retrieved the scroll and I managed to kill a bunch of bounty hunters that were desecrating some graves in a tomb. And then kill a garrison of Anbu and brought down the tower they were in. So luckily there'll be as many soldiers around for the time being." "You did all that in a day? I don't know any Anbu who could do all that in a day," Asuma said. "Most Anbu aren't assassins. Now can you see the difference between us? Now let's get started with that training," Washi said. The civilian walked the rubble before him, admiring his enemy's handiwork. It was so rare to run into an enemy who could do these kinds of things and live to tell about it, and what was worse, be a thorn in his side. After surveying it, he proceeded then to a meeting with his fellow Templars. As the images came to being, he gave them a slight bow of the head and then said, "As we feared, my fellow Templars, the assassin is here and he's already killed an entire garrison and 2 teams of ANBUs just this day. His tactics are similar to those used in Crystal Cove and he's learned from those as well. This is very unexpected. We were not expecting this at all. The assassin is much more of a danger than we realized. Are you sure you can handle this civilian?" one of the Stone Templar said. The civilian gave him a smile and said, "Do not worry, everything is going as planned. In time we'll find both the artifacts and the codex pages that have been lost to us for so long." It had been 2 weeks since the attack on the tower, and Washi and Yugito had been busy with her training as well as taking out at least 2 more towers and their guards. Each time this was done successfully, it created an area for the time being that was free of the influence of the Templars. At the same time, they never worked in these areas to help protect people and also picked areas that the resistance was not active in. This was done so the area could be free and people begin to regain some sense of peace and also possible recruits for the Brotherhood. They had also for the last week been killing as many of the guards as they could outside of the freed areas. The activity of the bounty hunters and also increased by this point as well. But that didn't stop them doing their jobs in the least. But this day was a special day for Yugito, as she had been his first recruit upon entering Water Country, and today was the day she became a full-fledged assassin. Everyone had assembled in the hall of the Resistance building that was proudly displaying the emblem of the Assassin Order itself with the symbol of the Uzumaki clan in it as well. It was at this point that Washi walked into the room and up to the middle of the room. A fire blazed on a hearth in the middle of the floor. They also noticed his appearance changed as well. He was now wearing a black outfit that resembled a Roman Catholic priest's clothing, which was solid black with a hood that had what looked like a beak of an eagle and a red sash around his waist with a metal buckle that had the symbol of the Brotherhood on it. He still had all his equipment on it, but with room for new armor and equipment, and was less bulky than his old clothing. A.N. Think of Neo's outfit from the Matrix Revolutions with the addition of Assassin's Hood. Also, Washi's particular version of the outfit will be black while everyone else's will be white. At this point, Yugito walked into the room. It up to her master and fellow assassin. La Shea Wakiun Moutlak Bail Kulun Momkine. The wisdom of our creed is revealed in these words. We work in the dark, to serve the light. We are assassins. Washi was now in front of his fellow container and addressed her, Yugito. We dedicate our lives to protecting the freedom of humanity. Many have student at this fire similar to this one, engaged in the same task. Now, I offer the choice to you, of joining us. He extended his hand and she placed first in his. Washi withdrew from the fire the familiar branding iron ending in two small semicircles like the letter C, which could be brought together by means of a lever in the handle. "Everything is permitted, nothing is true," he said with a sense of importance. Everyone in the room repeated the words as well. Just as Raven had done to Washi, it was now his turn to brand a new member of the Brotherhood, to which he applied to bringing iron to Yugito's ring finger and closed the clamp, so that the mark of the ring was burned there forever. Yugito winced, but did not cry out as Washi removed the iron and put it safely to one side. "Welcome to our order, our brotherhood. Don't you mean sisterhood?" she asked as the wound healed but leaving the scar behind just like her master. At this point they both walked up to the top of the building and performed the leap of faith. This day marked the birth of a new assassin who could pass on what she had learned fully to the next generation and meant they were no longer alone or just one. The two assassins were now on their way to one of the many secret blacksmiths who assisted the assassins and the resistance. The new clothing that they wore was designed by Leonardo, who sent it to them via one of his contacts in Water Country. They were going to see this particular blacksmith so he could outfit them with new armor that was perfect for them and their perfection. As they walked into his room he gave them a big smile and said, "Welcome, to my shop. I assume you want something?" Washi nodded at him and said, "We'd like to have some new armor if you don't mind, and my friend here needs a new sword. Right this way. I got some things for you guys might like. My family has assisted the assassins for a long time now." The blacksmith said to them as he walked up to a particular cabinet and opened it, revealing sets of armor and a couple of swords. They both proceeded to place a new sets of armor on their bodies, were still allowed them to move freely, and Washi had to admit that he looked a bit closer to his ancestor Ezio when he started his missions in Rome. Washi then pulled out a pouch full of money and threw it into the man's hands and then said, "If Leonardo sends any more packages for you, I'll keep them here until you or one of your order can pick them up, and also tell May that her order is ready for pickup." "I understand, and we'll give her the message," he said. The two of them walked out of the blacksmith shop into the street, disappearing into the crowd. Their destination was one of the areas without its tower. The Templars have been trying to regain control of these areas for some time now, but the people were becoming more rebellious and openly defiant to them. This made these areas the perfect place to recruit new members of the Brotherhood. As they walked the area they came upon what looked like an organized fight with many people betting on who would win. Washi decided to enter himself in the contest and see if there are anyone worthy of being an assassin here. As the announcer did his bit and people began taking bets on just who would win the fight, Washi and the man who was the current champion of this little contest. As soon as the proctor said go, they began their fight, which was a blur of movement on Washi's part. When the man was down on the ground and was clearly defeated by Washi, started to walk away only for the man to re-engage him in battle once more, only for him to get another beating at Washi's hands. This continued a couple more times until the man was no longer able to fight any longer. "You fight well. Have you ever considered fighting for a cause? Join the assassins, help us to regain peace in this land." The man was surprised by this and said, "I have never been part of something like that, and yes, I will join you. Then head to Inn of the Good Mist and your training will begin." The man nodded to him and ran along on his way. Yugito walked alongside Washi as they began their trip back to their base to begin the new assassin's training. Yugito could no longer hide her physical attraction and also emotional one from Washi anymore, and decided to tell him as he walked back, "Washi, have you ever thought of having a family?" "More than you know, Yugito. I am the last two clans and the only one with the Animus bloodline at this time. I know one day I'll have to have at least 2 wives. I just don't know what to do, and the last person I thought that I loved was just using. I've actually had better relationships with my female friends like you." Yugito blushed at this and decided to just tell him how she felt. "Well, the truth is, Washi, I like you as more than a friend, and I want to get to know you better, if that's all right with you." To her surprise, he pulled down her hood and gave her a passionate kiss. As he pulled back, he then said, "I would like that very much. I felt something for you that day when I saved you. But just so you know, I may have to have another wife. Is that all right with you, my deadly cat?" She could only nod her head yes, with tears coming down her face, and hugged him tight. After a while they made it back to Inn that also doubled as both the Assassins and Rebellion's headquarters and training facilities. As they entered the primary training area, they noticed Konohamaru and his 2 friends doing much better with the free-running style, and right behind them was his uncle Asuma, was no longer falling off the practice field as they had come to call it. The new recruit walked in wearing the clothing of the learner. I saw the other students practicing their abilities. He was impressive. And walked over to Mei, who began his training with the help of one of the other new recruits that Washi had picked up just the day before. Mei then walked over to him and said, "Naruto, the new recruits are doing well. It's going to take some time to get them up and ready for actual combat, but it won't take too long. I'd say 2 months top before they can do actual missions, but that's not all. We have 3 visitors and supplies from your old friend Leonardo." This caught his attention as 3 people walked up to him and Yugito. He instantly recognized them. "Tenten, Kukaku, what are 2 doing here as well as a young lady?" The little girl just rolled her eyes and gave him one of her classic looks. Kukaku and Tenten just laughed at their shenanigans. Tenten then said, "My father was sending some new supplies and equipment and I decided to start my training as one of you, and Kukaku here wants to finish her training to become a full member of the Brotherhood." "I can do that. Tenten, you'll be starting your training right now with weapons, as your father told me you can do free running without chakra already." He then could see the smile appearing on her face as he said that, as well as a blush. Yugito caught Tenten's blushing and just smiled at her as they were going to have something to talk about later. Tenten and the other students were then given each book blade for their left arm, which they put on. Yugito and Kukaku student at his side as he began to explain the weapons uses. "This, my students, is the legendary Ottoman hook blade that was once used long ago in the legendary city of Constantinople. As you can see, the blade has 2 functions, as both a normal hidden blade for those kind of missions or situations, or a blade that can help you get to new places that free running alone will not. It can also work as an impressive weapon to make us even more deadly than before, or a quick escape possible. I will create several shadow clones to help you each learn to use this weapon. Now let us begin." The civilian was not a happy man at all, and the assassins had done quite a bit of damage to them already. He was currently in a meeting with the other Templars who had requested his presence to combat not only the resistance but the assassins as well. One of them was then the daimyo of Water Country himself, who had, with the help of another Templar, taken down the old mist village, knowing that they would have interfered in their plans. "Have you figured out what the assassins are planning?" the daimyo asked him. "No, we have not, my lord. We can only speculate on their plans at this time. We do know that once they destroy the towers and its garrisons and then leave that area alone, you may have to pull more of your experienced warriors from the ports if you wish to combat them. And at this time we may have no choice in the matter. But I do believe that they are using these areas to recruit new members, but at this time is only a theory. We also suspect that they are gaining information on all of us, including you, my lord." The daimyo had a feeling this is going to happen sooner or later. "I knew this was going to happen sooner or later. I want you to track down my nephew as soon as possible and bring him to me." This caught everyone's attention as daimyo then said, "Just in case you all have forgotten, I did have my brother killed so I could take his place as the daimyo of this country. What you don't know is that his son and wife not only survived but is now in hiding from me, and if he returns I will be deposed from this throne and all of our plans for the Templars will be ruined. So find them and kill them before the assassins can save them." To what make myself clear? They all nodded to him and got to work right away. Tenten was in love with this weapon and quickly mastering its capacities in everything from both combat and climbing. To the surprise of everyone, she was quickly learning all of its abilities faster than any of the other students who were there. She then heard Washi call for a 10 minutes break so they could all rest. At this point she was approached by both Mei and Yugito, who motioned for her to come over to them. Once Tenten was standing with them, she noticed they both had a girlish smile on their faces as Mei then said, "So, tell us, do you like Washi more than a friend?" Only for them to see her become as red as a tomato. Mei then pushed both Yugito and Tenten over to a table so they could talk about the future and the man who had captured their hearts. She then noticed both Washi and Kukaku talking. Kukaku was truly surprised as she saw the clones of her maestro walking around teaching the students as they went. She then said, "I do miss seeing all of you walking around, maestro. I have a feeling in no time they will be full-fledged assassins. I see you have progressed well. What about the village?" "Better than we could have hoped, maestro. Many of us are ready to progress to the next level and become full-fledged assassins. Is one of the reasons I came, so I could complete my training and go back to finish theirs as well. I am sorry that I had to leave without completing your training or the others, but at the time you weren't ready for this kind of mission, but I have a feeling you are now. I'll make some more clones to continue their training as I have whenever I went on a mission here in the city. It's time to finish yours."
That's all for now. If you want to see next part, then please like this video and subscribe my channel. Thank you.